So before we begin, I'd like to invite up the Scouts from Troop 6000 to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Haley Vicente, Karina Cabrera, Luz Escobar, Christina Cabrera, Carmen Escobar, and Dorothy Mascara. Here you go, Haley.
When do I start?
Oh, start whenever you're all
In front of us.
Okay.
You're in front of us.
All right.
Ready? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Great job.
All right, let's hear for the Scouts from Troop 6000. So I'd like to thank some of our co-sponsors this evening. Woodside on the Move, Adriana Beltran and Maritza Munoz. Catholic Migration Services, David Kolodny. The Jacob Resettlement House, Robert Madison. All right, Sunnyside Community Services. Yeah, here you go. Judy Zangwill. Community Board 2 with District Manager Deborah Markle Kleinert and Chair Denise Keegan-Smith. Community Board 1 with Florence Colnoris. And our host this evening, Principal Melissa Berg from the Queens Vocational Technical High School. And now I'd like to invite one of our special guests, New York State Senator Michael Gianaris, to give us some brief introductions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, good evening. I just wanted to take a moment. This night is about your questions for the mayor, so I don't want to take up too much time, but I did just want to thank him for coming out to our community and being with us in person to address our concerns, and our always energetic, hardworking councilman, Jimmy Van Bramer. Thank you for your continued hard work. Let's hear it for him again. And let's not forget, as an elected official, I know this, the mayor's team has put a tremendous amount of work into this night and town halls all throughout the city. So Marco, thank you. And a lot of the folks are here. If you'll permit me, there's one person who I know spent a lot of time, is a great leader from here in Queens. Jessica Ramos is here somewhere. I saw her. Let's hear it for Jessica. And for my part, what the city does is so important, always, but especially in this climate right now. We all know what's going on in Washington. There's talks of a lot of things being cut, a lot of services being harmed that we need here in New York. The state tries to do some, and frankly, we don't do enough. We just came out of a budget that should have been better. I was just telling someone I call it the better than nothing budget, because there were some things in there that were good. There was better than nothing, but we should have done better, and it could have been a lot better. We're going to keep working on it. But this administration, this city is making sure that they are the last line of defense before we get harmed by any of these proposals coming from Washington. And so you deserve our thanks for that. And I know that fight will continue here as we do what we can to make sure we're all protected. So I don't want to take up any more time. I just wanted to say hello.
I wanted to note, everyone take a look at his tie and shirt and suit. New York Mets colors. He thinks of everything, okay?
It's rough right now. And it's rough right now for any of you that are following. So this
You're still loyal.
They
and
call
we
us
admire
Die
that.
Hard for a reason.
That's right.
But anyway, have a wonderful evening, and hope all your questions get answered. And whatever you need from me, everybody knows where to reach me. But again, Jimmy and Mayor, thank you so much for putting this together tonight. Thank you.
Everyone, your state senator, Mike Gianaris. And now I'd like to bring up the New York City Council Majority Leader and your council member, Jimmy Van Bramer.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How's everyone doing tonight? Are you excited? I know I'm very excited to be here, and I want to thank Mayor de Blasio for being here. Let's all give him a big round of applause for being here in our community. And taking your questions, hearing your concerns, and I know that a lot of good is going to come out of this evening. I want to say a few words about the work we've done together, and then a little bit about how we're going to run this town hall, because I get to be the MC, and I want to make sure everyone gets to ask their question, if at all possible. So we're going to ask people to follow some ground rules. But first, let me just say that working with Mayor de Blasio, we have been accomplishing some great things for District 26. Great things. The first of which I want everyone to know that working together, we have had an $800 million investment in new schools in District 26. $800 million for new schools in District 26. That includes 11 brand new schools that have either been opened, funded, or are being built right now. We have together, as many people know, I'm the chair of Cultural Affairs and Libraries. We have had record investment in libraries. $343 million for permanent 6-day library service baselined into the budget. Baselined into the budget. And we have seen record increases in funding to public housing at Queensbridge, Ravenswood, and the Woodside houses. That is incredibly important to me and to so many others, including Bishop Taylor in the front row there. So I want to say to Mayor de Blasio, thank you. Thank you for the work that we've done. I also want to say that while we may not agree on everything all of the time, I want to say publicly and clearly that I know that Mayor de Blasio gets up every single day, and between the time that he wakes up and goes to bed, he is focused on doing what is right for New York City. He wants to fight and does fight for all of us, all of our neighborhoods. So I want to say I know that everything he's doing, he's trying to do for the people of the city of New York, and there are far more things that we agree on than we disagree on. So again, thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for being here and honoring our community by being with us tonight and answering everyone's questions. And did I mention that we have a brand new $40 million state-of-the-art library in Hunters Point, Long Island City that is about ready to open. $100 million investment in Queens Boulevard, turning the Boulevard of Death into the Boulevard of Life. That is an incredibly important accomplishment. We rebuilt the Queensbridge Park seawall, which had languished for decades and decades. Horrible, horrible thing that we all face in our community. And look, there are still challenges. There are still many things that we need to accomplish working together to make sure that we keep pace with the growth, that infrastructure keeps pace with the growth. Obviously, the cost of living is a real issue in our neighborhoods, neighborhoods that are so popular like ours. And of course, the dreaded 7 train remains a big, big issue for all of us, right? Although, let me just say very, very clearly, as all of you know, that New York City and the mayor do not control the MTA. We do not control the MTA. The state controls the MTA. And I believe that New York City should control the MTA. We should take it over and make sure that the city of New York controls the MTA. Then we might get some relief on the 7 train. So, having said all of that, I have to acknowledge the most important person in this room. And I know all of you believe that the most important person in this room is, in fact, Mayor de Blasio. But that may not be true, because if not for one person, none of us would be here tonight. And that would be my mother, who's right here in the front row. My mom. Who, for the record, got a semi-standing ovation, which is pretty cool. So I just want to thank my mom for giving birth to me and allowing this town hall meeting to happen. If she had not done that, it would not be here. So once again, just a few ground rules. We're going to go as quickly as possible. I'm going to call on as many folks as I possibly can. I am going to ask and then enforce that we not make opening statements before you ask the mayor your question. If you do make an opening statement, I'm going to try and cut that a little brief and say, let's ask the questions so as many of your neighbors can ask questions. And we're not really going to do follow-ups and triple up on questions. We're all going to get one question. If we can go fast, we can respect our neighbors and obviously respect the mayor's time here as well. And then we'll let you know when we're drawing to a close. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the mayor of the city of New York, Bill de Blasio.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to affirm the fact that this meeting wouldn't be happening except for Elizabeth. So, Elizabeth, thank you, not just for giving birth to him, but for raising him the right way to care about other people and become a good public servant. We thank you. I also want to tell you, and this gets to Elizabeth having raised Jimmy the right way and with the right values, that a lot of you heard the story of these wonderful young ladies from the Girl Scout troop. And Jimmy, when he heard the story, immediately wanted to make sure that they had what they needed because they're an example to this whole city. We're grappling with a lot of challenges in this city. And some families have worked really hard, but they still have had a lot of trouble making ends meet. And some of them even end up in a state of homelessness. But that does not rob them of their humanity or their dignity or their value or their worth to our society. And the Girl Scouts is an amazing American institution. It should be available to young women wherever they are. And I want to commend these young ladies. Let's give them another round of applause. But I also want to thank Jimmy because he immediately went and said, how can we help this Girl Scout troop be the greatest Girl Scout troop in New York City? So Jimmy, thank you for being there for them. State Senator Mike Gianaris, in addition to his fine fashion sensibilities, major leader of the state Senate, of the Democrats in the state Senate. He's been very responsive, not only to his own district, but to the needs of people all over New York City. He's one of the go-to people that we turn to when we need to defend New York City's interests in Albany. I always say of those sentenced to serve in Albany, it is not easy. It is not a place that's particularly friendly to the 43% of the state's population that are the people of New York City. By the way, you heard an important fact earlier about the MTA, which I'll repeat just so everyone's fully edified and educated. The MTA is run by the state of New York. But the other fact I hope you take away from this evening, 43% of the state's population is the people in New York City. Now over 8.5 million of us. And we should get our fair share, but we often are denied it. But Mike Gianaris does some great work to try and get us what is ours. Let's thank him for all that he does. Now, I want to say a couple of things up front, and then we'll get into the questions. But first, let me refer you to this section of the room. Obviously, we have our police leadership for this part of Queens, and they are doing an amazing job driving down crime and making the community better. Let's thank all of them for all they do. And then here you have an extraordinary group in this section, the heads of some of the most important agencies of the city government, all in one place. It's kind of interesting. We sometimes gather all the important agency heads together for meetings or retreats. It's not that frequent. One of the few times you get them all in one place is when there's a town hall meeting in a community. So they'll be here to help answer some of the questions tonight, but after the meeting formally ends, you can come up here and ask any question you want. If you want to know about something related to our streets, our sidewalks, Vision Zero, our transportation commissioner is here. If you have a concern about snow removal or how our garbage is picked up or recycling, our sanitation commissioner is here. The chair of the housing authority is here if you live in public housing. There's so many people. They're the people who make New York City run in so many ways. And they're right here. They're all sitting right here. So at the end of the meeting, if there are things that did not get covered or other things you want to bring up or more personal, direct issues for your block or your building, come on up and speak to them. Now, you may be concerned. These meetings go late. They're very intense. There's a lot that happens. You may be concerned at the end of the meeting it's very late, and you shouldn't bother them. That's the wrong way to look at it, because these are some of the hardest working people you will ever meet, and they will stay here all night if you need them to. They aren't going anywhere. I keep telling people at town hall meetings they'll stay here all night. I want someone to take me up on it and just stay all night asking them questions. So I'll be quick about a couple things. Today, a couple of real current event things. Today we had a major announcement up in Washington Heights, but it's going to be something that'll matter for the whole city. First precinct in New York City where officers will be wearing body cameras, a 3-4 precinct. This ushers in a new era for the NYPD of even greater safety for our communities, more transparency, more accountability. We're going to be able to improve the relationship between police and community, and body cameras are going to be a big part of it. By the end of 2019, every single NYPD patrol officer will be wearing a body camera. And that means everyone involved has the assurance that the situation is transparent and that there is real accountability. So this is an exciting day for the city that is up and running, and something we think is going to make us even safer. And speaking of safety, I want you to know the first 3 months of this year were the safest quarter, the first 3 months of this year combined, the safest 3 months we've ever had, literally in the history of New York City. And I always say about the NYPD, they are doing extraordinary work, but they're also devoted to keep getting better all the time. Remember, the NYPD has 2,000 more officers on patrol than just 2 years ago. And I want to thank Jimmy and the City Council for their hard work. 2,000 more officers are on the streets of this city compared to just 2 years ago. Another really big announcement from this week, and it's something I feel very passionately about. A lot of you may know the number one thing I worked on when I had the honor of being elected your mayor. I said my first agenda item was to get pre-K to be universal. I wanted every 4-year-old in New York City to have full-day pre-K for free. When I came into office, there were 20,000 kids in full-day pre-K. There are now almost 70,000 kids every day getting full-day pre-K for free. And that has been a big impact in this community. This is a really impressive number. In your council district, when I came into office, there were 198 kids getting full-day pre-K. Right now, there are 1,318 kids getting full-day pre-K in this district. I love what the statisticians have done here. That is a pre-K increase in Council District 26 of 565%. You got 565% more pre-K than just 3 years ago.
That is great.
Okay.
That is
Now, why am I telling you this? Because we announced this week we're going to take the next big step in New York City. It worked for 4-year-olds. Now we want it to work for 3-year-olds. So 3K is the next step. And we're starting it in stages. We expect it to be at full strength in 4 years for the fall of 2021. The goal is to do the exact same thing, that there will be a free full-day education program, a free seat for every 3-year-old in this city, so parents will have the assurance, they'll know it's there, they'll know it's for free, they'll know it's available and it's universal, they'll know it's safe, they'll know it's high-quality education. And the way the world is going, it is so important that we expose our kids to education early. Their minds grow in an amazing way in the first years of their life. We have to make sure we take full advantage of that precious moment and help our children get ready for the future. So with your help and with the City Council's help over the next 3 years, 3K will also be universal in New York City. Now, I'm just going to hit a couple of very quick other important points. Councilman has been a champion of so many important issues. And he delineated at the beginning the kinds of things that have been achieved for this district. I need to fill in the blank because he's too modest. He just read the raw statistics of the new school seats and all the other investments that have happened in this district. I will bear witness that a lot of that was because of his hard work and his persistence. He also happens to be the majority leader of the City Council, not a minor matter. And I think anyone would tell you he's the leading champion for libraries in the City Council. So what he has done has been good for the whole city. But of course, his district should benefit as well. It only seems fair, and it has. The leading advocate for our cultural institutions as well. So you heard a lot of things that have already happened, and I will assure you that Jimmy Van Bramer has a great ability to get me focused on the concerns of the district because he's so damn persistent, it's hard to ignore him. So we have the good things he talked about. I want to mention one other that was announced earlier today, and this is the kind of thing that I know. I feel this as a New Yorker, and I also feel this as a parent who for many years I would take my kids to different parks, and I'd often be really frustrated that there weren't the best amenities and there was no place for them to go to the bathroom, which seems to be a pretty basic thing in life to cover. So today we announced the long-delayed, finally here, finally going to be funded design for the new field house and comfort station at Queensbridge Park. So government actually does get things done if we push it sometimes in the right direction, and your councilman has been doing that all the time. Look, we'll be talking about a lot of important issues tonight. We're certainly, I'm sure, going to talk about what I think is probably the most gripping issue for most people in the city, which is the ability to afford to live here, the cost of living in the city, the cost of housing in the city. I think Jimmy has the same experience I do. The thing I hear the most passion and the most frequent concern from the 8.5 million people I represent is that core question: are they going to be able to live in the city they love? Are you going to be able to live in the neighborhood you love? We're trying to do a lot to answer that question, yes, because I fundamentally believe we owe it to people, and I believe that what makes New York City great is it's a place for every kind of people. It cannot become a place where only the elite can afford to live. That's not the New York City we know and love. And so we've got, and we'll talk about it more in the course of the evening, but we have to use the tools of government. We cannot just let the market forces shape our reality, because it won't shape the reality in the right way. And Jimmy's been a champion of making sure government can do all it should do. Hunters Point South is a great example. 5,000 units of housing, 60% affordable housing. That's the kind of model that really helps move things. So, a couple other quick points. We know that with so many people, there's the fundamental question: how do you get around? We're already a crowded city. It's already hard to get around. We have to do in City Hall a lot more to address that. We also have to push Albany, because you know Albany controls the MTA. I don't know if I mentioned that. We have to push them to do their fair share. But what we're doing immediately, and I'm very proud of it, for the first time in a century, literally, we're going to have citywide ferry service. And that's going to open up all sorts of opportunities. Now, for the many people in the room who may have heard government promises before that did not come to fruition, this promise is about to come to fruition. because the Long Island City South stop, that ferry service will begin on May 1st. That is just days from now, May 1st. That's pretty damn soon, yeah. And the Long Island City North stop will open in August of this year, 2017. So 2 stops in your district that will connect people by ferry, not only to Manhattan, but all over, and for the same price that you would pay for a subway ride. So it's a whole new set of options. So I'm almost there. I'm almost done. I think I'm going to just conclude on this point. This city, look, we're New Yorkers. We have strong opinions on everything. We know we have big challenges. No one's ever going to belittle that. We should take stock of our challenges. We should take stock of what we're doing right. I believe the very fact that we can point to what the NYPD has done and know that we are a safer city, know that we're a city that's getting more unified, where the relationship between police and community is improving, where we're holding up the ideals that have made New York great always, a city for every kind of people. And by the way, at this point in history, I haven't even mentioned Washington, D.C. I'm sure we'll get into some of that. But at this point in history, New York City stands as a beacon of what an inclusive, multi-ethnic, multi-faith, immigrant welcome society looks like. And I'll conclude, this is the final point. What I just said isn't just, a boast about how great we are. This is fact. It really is fact. We are the safest we've ever been. We have the most jobs we've ever had. We have the strongest economy we've ever had. By the way, an economy that's creating jobs much more outside of Manhattan than in Manhattan. More jobs being created in Queens and Brooklyn in particular than the rest of the city. Things are changing and it's working, and we also, this is an amazing fact, we have the highest percentage of foreign-born people in this city in a century. The last time, about 38% of New York City is foreign-born. The last time that was true was 1910. So just my answer to Washington, D.C., as I turn it back to the councilman, we go into questions. My answer to Washington, D.C., how is it that we're the safest we've ever been, the most prosperous we've ever been, the most unified we've ever been, and the city that's the most diverse we've ever been, with the most immigrants we've ever had? Put all that together, maybe it suggests that immigration is a good thing after all, doesn't it? Jimmy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I think most of us, if not all of us, should say another special thank you to the mayor for defending our city's place as a sanctuary city under threat from Washington, D.C. Very, very important to me and to so many of us here. So just a quick poll. Who among you has a question for the mayor tonight? Raise your hand.
Just a few.
Just a few. All right, so just to let you know, we may not get to every... I see that hand, I do see it. You can put it down now. We will get to as many questions as possible, and I know that the mayor's office is committed to answering any questions that we don't actually hear from today. So again, we're going to go quick. We're going to ask one question. We're going to refrain from early and often remarks before your question. Let's get as many questions in as possible. Are you ready to go, District 26?
All right.
Are you ready, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Front row, right there.
You got a microphone.
Got a microphone. Thank you. Hi, guys. My name is Helen, and I work at LaGuardia Community College. We have 50,000 students and over 3,000 faculty members and staff who come to our college on a regular basis. What we need are safe streets for the tens of thousands of students and workers in our part of Long Island City. Our intersection of Van Dam Street, Thompson Avenue, and Queens Boulevard is extremely dangerous for pedestrians, and we need funding for the entire redesign of the intersection so that it's safe for the community to cross the street. Several years ago, a high school student died nearby on Thompson Avenue. Our majority leader, Jimmy Van Bremer, the DOT and our local elected officials.
Okay, this is getting long.
Yeah, have been, I'm going to wrap it up, have been supportive in our call to redesign the streets. So anyway, we need a safe plan for the school. And so can you help us completely redesign and reconstruct the streets surrounding our college?
Thank you for the question, Helen. Our Transportation Commissioner, Polly Trottenberg, you don't even need to come up. I'm just going to say nice things about you. Our Transportation Commissioner, Polly Trottenberg, has been one of the great leaders of our Vision Zero initiative, which is already saving a lot of lives over the last 3 years in this city. We know there's a real problem around LaGuardia College. We know that more has to be done. So we knew this would be an important topic to talk to the council member about as well before the meeting. So we're going to take the plans we have and move them up. And I am pleased to tell you we will commit $17 million in city capital funds to create those safety measures on Thompson Avenue to protect the students at LaGuardia and the surrounding community. So, okay, town hall meeting so far. Item 1, done. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to walk around the room. We're going to do this as fair as possible. I know a lot of folks have questions. We may not get $17 million for every question.
No, you will not.
But we started off with a big bang here in District 26. Right there.
Hi, Amadeo Plaza. I'm the president of the Court Square Civic Association. Thanks for coming. So in the face of potential rezoning in Long Island City and really just throughout the city in general, what's being done to ensure that open space in communities where there's already so little city-owned land, how's it being ensured? Because like Court Square is a perfect example of that. And affordability is important, but also livability is also important.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to tell you a very quick story that makes this point. I have a complicated set of views about the previous administration here in this city. There are some things I really agreed with them on. There were some things I disagreed. Some things they did that worked, some things that didn't. But one thing I did not always like on the rezonings that they did, I thought they didn't do enough of a focus on affordable housing, and I thought they didn't do enough of a focus on things like open space and livability. And then sometimes they said they were going to and just didn't fulfill the promise. So one example, we believe we can't have a real conversation with communities unless we show a pattern of keeping promises. So years ago, in Williamsburg and Greenpoint, there was a whole rezoning. This was literally a decade plus ago. And there was a commitment by the city to do a park, Bushwick Inlet Park, and then the commitment wasn't kept. And the community was outraged, and they fought for the last decade. We didn't make that commitment, but we believed it was important to show communities that this administration is not only going to honor commitments, but that we understand the value of open space. So we went back, we found the money, we funded that park. 10 years later, the promise was finally kept. And we intend to keep these promises now that we make in real time. So in any rezoning, it is a chance to take stock of the needs of the community. We're always going to be focused on affordable housing. Our city planning chair, Marissa Lago, is here. She's doing extraordinary work, making sense of everything we're trying to do around the city. But the thing you'll see in every rezoning is we have a focus on affordable housing because we know it's the #1 concern in New Yorkers. But if community members say, but the thing we also need is open space, there's a lot of ways to achieve that in the rezoning process. And one thing that I know about rezonings, resources come into a neighborhood through rezoning that would never come any other time. It's a concentrated opportunity to say, what do we need to fix, what do we need to address, and to get a whole lot of money in to do it. And again, you got a council member with a very good track record on the whole lot of money part. But so if this is a central concern of the rezoning to identify ways to achieve more open space, then there's a real opportunity to attach real dollars to that.
And just briefly to add, obviously we are well aware of the parcel that I know you and the folks who've signed your petition are very concerned about, working tirelessly to find opportunities for open space in Court Square, Hunters Point, all of Long Island City, and in fact the whole district. Right there with the glasses. Oh, there's a microphone.
There you go.
Thank you for coming tonight. Evan O'Neill, Hunters Point.
A little bit louder.
Evan O'Neill from Hunters Point. I was hoping we could get maybe a pinch of Helen's 17 million to put a few stop signs down in our neighborhood. We have a couple intersections that the community's been concerned about for a while, and we're just a little worried about the pace of action from the DOT on that. So we have
Get the DOT over here to speak to that. Come on over. Hold on. I will now produce for you magically the Transportation Commissioner. Okay, just like that.
Thank
Here
you.
I am.
You're supposed to say, damn it, I demand to see the Transportation Commissioner. And I'm like, there.
I got it. So
I mean, look, happy to talk to you about particular intersections, and one of the challenges we're facing, obviously this is a growing area, and so a lot is happening in terms of traffic and population and development. When we look at where to put in signals and signs, we use engineering tests to make sure we're going to put them in places where we're actually making things safer. Sometimes when those don't work, we'll put in enhanced crosswalks or speed humps or do other things. But we also want to keep coming back, because we do recognize this is a neighborhood in particular that's really
Right.
changing.
Things change all the time. What do you want? Where?
so we have
Just give us the quick rundown.
Yes, just three. So 5th Street and 51st Avenue.
Okay.
Kind of a tricky intersection. It's been
Just tell us the.
Yep.
Then
And
we'll,
5th Street and 46th Avenue, and 50th Avenue and Center Boulevard.
all right. So what we'll
And
do is.
we'll catch you afterwards.
Yeah, but while you're here, if you have anything specific,
Yeah.
you can come back in the course of the meeting, or she'll get you after. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let me just say, I endorse all of those requests for stop signs, incredibly important.
You're Jimmy Van Bramer, and you endorse this message?
I did.
You
endorsed
approve this
that
message?
I did. I'll endorse a few others here today. Front row.
Meredith Mascara, Girl Scouts of Greater New York. We proudly serve 28,000 girls across the city. And with that said, I actually would like to defer my time to one of our girls.
Sure.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Haley Vicente. I'm a Girl Scout from Troop 6000, and I wanted to know, what are your plans for the Women's Initiative, and how are you advocating for girls in New York City?
Excellent. Well, there's a lot of things, and I'll just say the very quick few examples. I mean, we start with how we advocating for women in general, and I'll say specifically for young women and girls. You know, we said at the beginning of my administration that the executive leadership roles of the administration had to reflect as best possible the population. That immediately means you should have a majority women. So I'm pleased to say the majority of the leadership positions in our administration are women. And that says a lot about the ability of our leaders to understand the needs of women and girls that they represent. We just, in these last days, the City Council, we worked with them on this, passed important legislation to further pay equity for women, one of the greatest injustices in this country right now. And its legislation has real strength to it to ensure that we change the practices in the private sector that have often held women back from getting equal pay. In terms of young women and girls, I would say the things we're doing include everything on education that strengthens young women and girls, but also young men and boys as well. The focus on early childhood education, much more after school. Now every middle school child in New York City has a guaranteed after school seat. That didn't used to be true. We think that's great in terms of strengthening both academic ability and social ability. We're focused on college-going culture to open up doors of opportunity for young women in particular, and that means a lot of focus on helping young women and girls to focus on the areas where there's great opportunity, like STEM, so science, math, where often there hasn't been enough representation. A lot of what we're doing in middle school and high school is focused on getting more young women and girls to take up those programs and get an opportunity to work in those fields. We're also investing a lot in that in CUNY. So these are all examples, but I think they all help on the path of empowering young women and girls. And I just want to commend the Girl Scouts not only for this wonderful troop, but for being an organization that has created young women's leadership for all these decades. but as pertinent as ever a mission in the society we're in today. So thank you.
Melissa?
We're just starting,
Jim,
sir.
there's lots of folks here. There's lots of folks here.
Sir, excuse me, wait a minute. Let me speak to you 1 second. Hold on. We're going to go around this room more times than you can count in the course of the evening. Well, I'm sorry you can't stay that long, but we're going around to call on people.
All right.
We will give you an opportunity, but my point I'm trying to make is the system is based on going around and around constantly. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead and ask the question.
I don't need that. The New York City paratransit program, New York City, also known as Accessoride.
Nope. Polly, come on over.
The New York City paratransit program, also known as Accessoride, is supposed to help disabled people who cannot use public transportation, which number over 150,000 people. Over 100,000 are senior citizens like myself. They do not accomplish this and treat the disabled with disrespect by telling them to be outside.
Jim, keep going. Keep going.
To be outside. They're telling a person like myself to be outside 5 minutes before the prescribed pickup time and allow the driver 30 minutes for traffic. They also do not call you upon arrival. You're expected to be outside. You're ordered to be outside, regardless of your condition. And I have whatever has to be, you can read this.
Right.
But the disabled people have been passed by.
Yes.
I have to tell you that.
So my response. Thank you for raising it. I agree with you. The system is not working. And we have ideas. Let me finish. We have ideas of how to fix it. It is not ours, but we still think there are ways to fix it. It belongs to the MTA, but we have, and Polly's going to talk about the ways we think we can improve it.
Could I just say one thing?
Please.
You, in 2015, you gave $2.5 billion to the MTA.
Correct.
Now, you should have something to say about how that money is spent.
Yes.
So,
I agree with that statement.
So do I.
So we gave $2.5 billion to the MTA with an agreement that the projects it would go to, doesn't go to Accessoride, it goes to the development of new transit options for the city, that we would have substantial discretion over that. Different matter. But the fact is, Polly Trottenberg sits on the board of the MTA. We don't run Accessoride, but we think we can help fix it. She's going to tell you how.
Listen, we've certainly, I have heard in my travels a lot of concerns and complaints about them, have spent a lot of time trying to talk to the MTA about it. We are also now trying to work with the MTA and our Taxi and Limousine Commission, our TLC commissioners here, to perhaps transition to a system which would be more like you would see with an Uber, where you can call up and get a vehicle that would come right away, that you don't have to wait outside, that you don't have to. I'm hoping it'll work. Sure.
I think, Jim, we're going to, no, Jim. It's all very important. So are their questions as well.
5.5 years. The first 2 years was a spousal system, a perfect, simple, efficient system that had respect for everyone.
Okay, we're going to hear from another person right here. To the mic.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Orlando. I'm the Executive Director of Access Queens. We advocate, thank you. We advocate for better transportation and infrastructure here in the borough. So thank you, Mayor, for being here. I would like to know what the city can do to help address the public transit needs in Western Queens, particularly given the rapid overdevelopment in Long Island City, the subway lines that are currently at or over capacity, the E, the N, the 7, the looming L train shutdown, which the MTA is not paying any attention to. It will affect Western Queens severely. What can the city do to help residents here get into Manhattan, to go to work, to go to school, to see family members? How can the city help?
So I appreciate the question. Your basic frame of your question I agree with the exception, and I have a huge critique of the MTA. We've established who runs it, but I'm not going to agree with your one statement on the L train. They are paying attention to it. I don't think it's that they have a lack of. I disagree, and I'll tell you why, because I've met with the leadership of the MTA. They understand the L train is going to have an impact on everything, and I don't think they're missing that fact. That being said, it's going to be very disruptive when the plan goes in. Look, it seems to me there's three pieces to the answer that are sort of real world, not the ideal world. The ideal world would be new subway lines and things like that that would take decades, and we saw what happened with the 2nd Avenue subway, for example. The real world answers are ferry service, which is beginning, but one of the things I've said about ferry service, I mean, you're going to get to experience it literally starting next week, and people will vote with their feet. If it works for them, and there's a lot of usage, we're going to keep increasing it. So that's going to be one thing that really does start to change the equation. A second thing is, and we'll push the MTA on this because you're right, if you have areas that are growing, there should be increased bus service. That's something you can add to the equation, and we will push to do that. And something we actually invest in. So just to be clear with everyone, the ferry service is all the city. We are paying for that. You know, we'll make some money from the fares. It'll be the same again as a subway ride, but we're going to have to subsidize that. We think it's really important to do because, exactly to your question, we can't make it with the transportation options we have now alone, especially because the city will grow. There's no question. So the ferry service is the city of New York taking control of its own destiny and saying, we can't wait on the MTA. We're going to create some of our own things. This thing, if it works, if it's popular, we have the option. We can just keep building it out. There's more and more opportunities for people to go by water. And there is no traffic in the water. This is a very good thing. No traffic jams on the rivers. So bus service, as I said, we would have to push the MTA on that. Polly's on the board. That's something we would do. But a place where we also invest and have some real impact is select bus service. So there's regular bus service, but select bus service, obviously, much faster, takes some real investment, takes reworking some of the major streets to achieve it. Results have been extraordinary where it's been put in the city. Talk to the council member, and he says very fairly, this is one of the places in the city that should be one of the next places to focus. So I'm not going to tell you which street or which line, but I am going to say we want to focus on adding transportation options. Part one, ferries. The next stage, we're going to see what we can do on buses. Thank you.
Thank you. Right there.
Hi, my name is Janine Colgan, and I've lived in my home since I'm 3 years old. And I would like to know what you could do to help the current system that there is at the Department of Buildings. I've had a lot of issues with my neighbor's construction, and I've gone down to the DOB for help, and the first piece of advice was, this is a civil matter. You need to get a lawyer. So I got a lawyer and went to court. Court threw the case out because they said they cannot override the DOB. My second piece of advice from the DOB was call 311 if you have a problem. So I call 311 if I have a problem, and an inspector comes and says there's nothing wrong, never contacts me, and nothing has happened. 3 years now, I'm having water in my basement. I've spent, I don't even want to say how much money I've lost to protect my home, and I feel like I have no help. What can you do to change that system? Because I feel like I would like to prevent this for other people.
Right.
There's Rick. He's behind me. Okay.
Right there.
I looked this way. I thought he'd be from this side. So this is the buildings commissioner, Rick Chandler.
Oh, hi. I sent you a letter.
There you go.
I sent you 2 letters.
Right.
But I never get a response.
Okay, we're gonna address that. He's responding to your letter in person.
Beautiful.
So, I'm going to say a blunt truth. The buildings department historically, this is not a comment on Rick or his colleagues today, but historically it was probably one of the least efficient, least customer service oriented agencies of the entire city government.
I agree.
So I experienced, you know, before I was mayor some years ago, I was a city council member. I spent 8 years representing a part of Brooklyn. I had heard the story you're telling, and many like it many, many times over. It wasn't hard to see there was a problem. When Rick became commissioner, I said to him, we've got to establish a customer service culture. We've got to speed up inspections and visits by DOB officials to achieve things. We are not all the way there. I have no illusion. We are somewhere in the process of change and changing the culture. Now, Also, sometimes a homeowner has a very valid complaint, but it turns out to be something that a neighbor is doing that DOB can't actually stop. Sometimes there's that too, so it depends on the circumstances. But the big picture, I think, to your point, you should get service from the DOB, you should get it in real time, and you should get an answer. And if the answer is there's something that we can't do that you want, you should get an explanation of why and what else could be done, not call 311. So in this case, Rick will attend to this issue personally and have his folks get you a real-life answer. But why don't you speak for a moment about, just real quick, what you're trying to do to address the customer service reality so that people know they are going to get better service quicker from the DOB.
Briefly, this mayor has given us resources that no administration has given in my entire career. So we are upgrading our services. We've added over 300 people since I've come on, thanks to the mayor and the support. So that's fantastic. Our service levels have dramatically reduced in our ability to process things.
Speak up.
So our service levels have dramatically improved. Obviously not to your satisfaction, and I appreciate you getting in touch with me. My staff is here. Our Queens staff that helps Jimmy's office and the other electeds is very, very active, and I'm sorry that you haven't gotten a response right now, but I'll take that information. And as the mayor said, we do have some difficulty trying to influence neighbors against neighbors, and we are limited in some of our tools, but we'll take your information and we'll follow up.
But he's going to personally ensure you get an answer. Whether it's the exact answer you want or not, I cannot speak to yet, but he's going to personally ensure you get an answer.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Great. We're going to keep going around the room. One of the little ones in the back there? Yep, you right there. There's a microphone here.
Well, near my house.
What's your name, dude?
Leo.
Say it louder.
Leo.
Leo. All right. The floor is yours, Leo.
So near my house, there's 2 parks, but neither of them have a field where you can run around. So I think there should be more fields, like in the parks, like with grass.
All right. Leo, wait a minute. I have a question for Leo. We're not done here. Leo, where do you go to school?
PS3.
PS3, cool. And which parks are you referring to?
Well, there's Lulu Daddy, and then there's the other one, and I don't know.
Torsney, yes.
Yeah, right. Come on, Leo. You got to do better than the other one.
It's like I don't know where it is.
I want the other one fixed immediately. No. So what was the first one again?
It's Lulu Daddy.
Lulu Daddy.
Right, that's right.
Okay. And you want some kind of field,
Yeah.
not just concrete.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do yet. Is our Parks Commissioner here? Who's here? Come on over. Your Queens Parks Commissioner is here. Leo, one thing we've been doing in some parks is we're putting in, we can't always put in grass, but we put in field turf a lot of places. So it's artificial grass, but it's actually really good. But in these 2 parks, you know the other one. You know what the other one is.
I know them well. I know the other one, yes.
So I don't know if we have any plans to address Leo's concern or if we're going to evaluate whether there's something we can do. What do you think?
I think I should find Leo's address. If his parents are here, I'd love to go with you and look at the parks and just see what the opportunities are. We do have some things. We've been working with the council member rebuilding a number of parks in this district. We recently did some work at Lulu Daddy. We put in the dog run. We fixed the large field. But I'd like to hear from you personally what your ideas are and see what we think we can do.
So the Parks Commissioner for Queens is going to come visit you, Leo, and you're going to show her for yourself what should be done. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Right there in the back. Right there.
Hi, thanks so much for taking this time. I'm Nat Rowe. I'm the executive director of Flux Factory. We're across the Sunnyside Yards, and we provide affordable space for artists and also free public exhibitions. So we are a renting organization, and so it's very difficult for us to pass on that affordable rent to artists. And I think this is the case, not just with the arts, but commercial rent in general, for individuals, for organizations. And I really appreciate, I know housing, where people live, is the most important thing, but I wonder what you can do in terms of individuals and organizations to help these commercial spaces keep a foothold so that the landlords aren't just constantly giving them short leases, raising their rent a ton, because we really are at risk of losing amazing artists. They're moving to other cities, and it might be that this is, New York City cannot be the cultural capital of the United States, and I think it should be. So, thanks.
Okay. Well, first of all, I appreciate very much what you're doing and the question you're raising. I think it's a really important question. Only disagreement I have with you is we are the cultural capital of the United States. There's nothing to discuss here, and that's not changing. So I think this starts to get us into a bigger discussion of how you deal with market forces in a city that has changed so much. The market forces weren't a huge, overwhelming factor when, bluntly, a large number of people are leaving New York City because they thought it was unsafe or whatever else. Now that we are much, much safer and we have a stronger economy and all this other reality, there is a victim of your own success dynamic going on, and we have to come up with policies that keep a balance. We are investing in affordable housing for artists. Not enough, I'm not going to pretend, but still a meaningful amount that should help a number of artists. We are trying to do some interesting things, and I'll have Tom speak to it, where we can, in different buildings that are being created or that we're preserving, looking for how we can have affordable artists' studio space as part of it. But I think the bigger question is sort of how do we just protect affordability in general. When an artist gets affordable housing, whether it's designated for artists or just general affordable housing, that helps keep them here. We are trying to pursue the policies that will keep affordability for everyone, and that's going to benefit members of the cultural community as well. In terms of like studio space and workspace, speak to, I know we've only gotten some done, but speak to what we're doing.
First of all, I know Flex Factory well, and I know you've moved around, and you are one of those resilient organizations that maintained, that stuck with it. So I just want to say in terms of affordable studio space, you may know this, but maybe not the rest of the room, that we have a commitment to build affordable studio space using capital money from the city to invest in making those, and we have a goal of 500 affordable studio spaces. There is already some here in Long Island City being managed by Spaceworks. Successful, it's for dance groups, et cetera. So the idea is invest capital money so that the affordability is permanent. City capital money to create affordable workspace for artists is being done around the city. There are a number of locations. So we are committed to that. The mayor made that commitment in the State of the City before last, a couple of years ago. So that, look, it may not be enough, but it's by far the biggest commitment to artist housing and affordable workspace that any mayor in New York has made, and it is happening. So I also want to say that if anybody is the champion of these ideas, it is Councilmember Van Bramer. You have the champion of arts and culture funding in New York City. So that is not exactly what you're talking about, but it is very relevant to keeping artists in New York City. We're very committed to doing that.
Thank you. So I just want to remind everyone, I see everybody's hands, everybody's faces. We're doing well. How do you think we're doing so far? Are you getting some good information? And at least one person got $17 million. Right there.
Thank you, Councilman. My name is Josh Bowen. I am the owner of John Brown Smokehouse in Long Island City. Thanks for coming, Mayor. Appreciate you coming by. We haven't seen you over there. We're waiting for you.
Very good place.
While the seat is hot, I'd like to talk with the Commissioner Chandler here and talk about the DOB. I know you talked with the young lady over there about how it's just inefficient. Unlike the MTA, it's actually your fault.
It is. It's ours. It's ours.
My problem, which I'm sure the councilman could give you the lowdown on. We've been waiting 2 years for a building to get just approved to even be open. While that, at the same time, there's buildings that are 100 stories tall or 80 stories taller than ours that are going from zoning to finished in the same time that we're waiting for this to happen. And I know a lot of times they'll try to say it's safety or something. It's just foot dragging. And I don't know, and I don't want to say this because I don't know, But I think it's incompetence, and we don't have an ombudsman or anything to fight back at it. You can't sue them. You can't do anything. You can't even ask them a question unless you're an expediter who knows how to sneak in behind an engineer to get into the building. And that's it. It's like Mordor to get into. So anyway, I don't mean to rip on you, but I know there's other businessmen out there that have gone out of business waiting for this to happen. Luckily, we own the property, but it's not a sort of well, they suck and they should fix that. There's people small businesses are going out of business, and there's people on Kent building without a C of O. So, I mean, focus on the small businesses is how I'm seeing this. And maybe we've been doing 9 months for a boiler inspection. There you go.
This is exactly. This is why we have added. How many inspectors have we added? Okay. So this is why we added 150 new inspectors. It was ridiculous. You have every right to be frustrated. Now, but let me say, I'm going to just jam you back a little. I don't know the details. I'm not going to assume one thing or another. And when they say safety, they're not always wrong. So just be careful. That's sometimes safety. But no, I'm obviously saying that. So I'm meeting you more than halfway. You're right. The buildings department has historically had a major problem. I'm right that sometimes when they say there's a safety concern, there's really a safety concern. No, you're not going to go back to bribing them. That's why we added your frustration well placed, but listen that there is a solution moving, and let's see that it works for you. So, I heard you, brother. So we're going to have Rick follow up with you to figure out what the heck is wrong and resolve it, if it can be, and I would like to assume it will be. But the point is, you should never have to wait that long. It should be speedy resolution if a situation can be resolved, or it should be a just plain no if a situation can't be resolved. So, and you're right about the expediters, by the way. Any system that depends on expediters is broken on its face. So we added 300 more people total to try and make this organization work for people. They're not all here, it's not all changed, but we agree it has to change. We're also trying to reduce the fines on small business. We're not all the way there, but we've done some major reductions that a lot of small businesses have experienced. So Rick, will you again personally make sure, and I'd like to hear back, I'll give you a bonus round because you're so polite, that I want to hear back the outcome. I have been to his restaurant, it's a good restaurant. I want to hear back the outcome. Okay, I want to hear the outcome. I want to hear, and now our Small Business Services Commissioner, Greg Bishop.
So, hello everyone, my name is Greg Bishop. Just to challenge you on, there is an agency that helps businesses, especially through the open process. So if there's any other business owners that's here and you need help with navigating other city agencies, the mayor has actually committed not only resources at DOB, and we also have DOB staff within our agency, and we also have SBS staff within DOB because we want to make sure that we provide customer service to businesses.
Greg, make that a little more real world. If a small business is having a problem with DOB or wherever, tell everyone what Small Business Services could do to actually intervene.
So we have a whole team, a business acceleration team. So we come to you. You don't have to go to the expediter. We can help you actually navigate not only buildings, but fire, health department, et cetera. And we also do pre-inspections.
Okay.
And we have a number of other services that we can help you with.
So let's have you, we're going to do a double team here. I want you to go and act like you never met this guy, and you just come in and look at it from scratch to see, right, I want to see how you would solve this set of problems. Obviously, I want you to get them focused on, but I want to see if experiencing the approach that they use changes your mind about the ombudsman question. So let's do both. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Back there? Yep.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm a Sunnyside resident. I live around the corner from here, actually. And I have concerns about Sunnyside yards. Chiefly that Sunnyside is already 59% rent burdened, and that the median income here is $37,000. So 60% affordable units, quite frankly, isn't enough. I think it needs to be 100% affordable. Luxury units in Sunnyside are going to drive up rents, and if 59% of people already can barely afford their rent, everyone's going to get driven out.
I think this is, so first of all, I like the demand. Second of all, I'm not sure I agree with your analysis, and I want to challenge you on it. So, look, I understand when we talked about Sunnyside Yards, I understand I did not expect anything but there would be tremendous concern at the community level. Not surprising, I get it. We also need to be clear, and the councilman has raised profound concerns about it, to be fair to him. If there ever was a day to get these things done, that day is well in the future in real world terms, meaning this is a kind of project that you're talking 10 or 20 years to ever come near achieving. But here's the theory of the case. I want you to hear it. If you had the land to create a huge amount of affordable housing, when I say affordable, I mean for folks who are lower income, working class, middle class. If you had that, you're talking in Sunnyside Yards the ability to create the equivalent of another Stuytown and Peter Cooper Village, which was, historically built originally to be affordable. Later, they tried to bait and switch that and privatize, and I'm proud that we helped stop that in the last couple of years and preserved a lot of affordability there. But if you can picture the magnitude of something like Stuytown and Peter Cooper, and what it meant to working class and middle class people for decades, it could happen again. And we need to create that kind of scale of affordable housing. We got an affordable housing crisis right now. I have a plan, my current plan, which does not include Sunnyside Yards, is enough affordable housing for 500,000 people, and it's not enough. That's the shocking thing about this city today. 500,000 people, that's as many people as in Miami, all of Miami. We're doing that much in just affordable housing in 10 years. It's not enough. So that's why we got to keep finding new options. Now, if you say to me, could it be all affordable? There are conceivable scenarios. Cost a lot of money, but there are conceivable scenarios. But here's where I want to challenge you. A lot of times where we decide on a mix of affordable and market, it is because the market helps fund the affordable and allows us to maximize the number of units we're doing everywhere else. Because if we just use public money, by definition, we're limiting the number of units we can create. We just have a limited supply of public money and a questionable budget picture up ahead in Washington. I don't agree with the assumption that when some market rate housing goes in, all the dominoes fall and the cost of a neighborhood is moved by that market rate housing. I would argue the cost of the neighborhood is moving already. And my object lessons from my borough, Brooklyn, people are always concerned about rezonings. I point out that Bed-Stuy and Prospect Heights and Bushwick never had a rezoning. The market alone shot the prices through the roof, and they didn't need big shiny buildings. They didn't need a rezoning. Things changed just because of demand and market reality, which obviously you all feel deeply in this area. I would argue government intervention to create a lot more affordable housing is actually fighting against that market power and that market dynamic that's already here. And it's one of the only tools we got to fight back is to create our own. So all I can say to you is, if we get to that day, the reason we would do it, and it would take a whole public process and a vote of the city council, and it would be, immense amounts of scrutiny before anything ever happened. If we ever got there, it would be because we would satisfy the community's concerns about the amount of affordable housing, the income levels of the affordable housing, and the transportation we would have to create to support it.
Right here. Yep, you.
Hi, thank you for coming out this evening to speak in our community. My name is Eric Duncan, and I sit on the Resident Association Board of Ravenswood Houses. And you've spoken about the need for more transportation. You mentioned the ferries, more buses. Can you give me any details about your Brooklyn Queens Connector project? Is it actually going to come into fruition?
That's the goal. And, we think this light rail could provide a lot more transportation options for people from Astoria down to Sunset Park, Queens down to Brooklyn, that it hits a lot of areas that don't have enough options. It hits a lot of areas, there's been a certain amount of stereotyping about it, and like everything else is talked about in the world, that it serves only some people. This concentration from Astoria down to Sunset Park hits some truly transportation underserved neighborhoods and a huge concentration of affordable housing in a variety of points along the way. We think it would be great. It would also be set at the same price as a subway fare. It's something we think we could get up and running in as few as 3-4 years, at least segments of it. So it is still something we're trying to make work and believe would contribute. What I think it gets to the question earlier about all the options we're going to need going forward. I just think this is a city that has to come to grips with every new transportation option is needed, because every time we use, I mean, look, the subways used not to be entirely filled. Now the subways are just full. The roads, full. So we need ferries. We need light rail. We need select bus service. We need anything that changes the model, and we intend to go forward with it. Thank you.
Right here. Right there. Do you have a question? Or?
I do.
Yep, you, right there.
Hi, my name is Kristen Burns. Oh, I'm loud. Hi, my name is Kristen Burns. I'm a member of SWAG, which is the Sunnyside Woodside Action Group.
I like your acronym.
Thank you.
SWAG.
So we have about 600 members, and we are always looking for people who need volunteers for any kind of local action. If we help Jimmy with participatory budgeting, if anybody needs people to marchers, we're always available. So you can sign up for SWAG. It's a Facebook group. Anyway, my question is about housing again. I feel like we have a lot of housing questions here tonight. Yeah. We have girls here who are in a homeless shelter,
Yep.
who are amazing, and we have a lot of support with Girl Scouts, but we want to reduce those numbers. We also have large skyrise apartments going in where people are buying the apartments and not living there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any push or movement to have models like we've seen in some other cities around the world where those non-lived-in apartments are taxed at a different rate and that used for other housing?
Yeah. So there's definitely proposals out there to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got to give you a quick lay of the land. There's an obvious logic to the notion that if people, wealthy people from other parts of the United States, other parts of the world, buy an apartment, don't use it, that is a challenge for this city. There have been very specific proposals made to tax them exactly the way you say, tax them at a different rate on the real estate tax, real estate transfer tax or other models. To do that, we would have to get approval from Albany. And the current dynamics in Albany make that very hard. The good news is, I don't think the current dynamics in Albany are necessarily going to be there that much longer. I think the fact is it's obviously a Republican-led state Senate. And I think the current environment in this state, in this nation, because of what happened on November 8th, could very well lead to Democratic control of the state Senate. And then that could be a real open situation where we could get some other things done. I would say to you that, just to be consistent with you, ahead of that, I would put our current proposal before Albany, the mansion tax, because of the immediate impact it would have. The idea of the mansion tax is when a home, it's a variation on a theme, when a home is purchased of more than $2 million, home, condo, co-op, etc. There's a little bit more on the tax added. All the proceeds go for affordable housing for senior citizens. 25,000 senior citizens would get affordable housing if the wealthy home buyers paid a little more in taxes. So that's my first agenda item to get done in in Albany on Washington. We don't have an immediate agenda item on that. In Albany, we're fighting for it right now, for the mansion tax. Even more, we would have an opportunity if the state Senate changed. But what you're referring to is a live option, particularly if the state Senate changes. Thank you.
Now, I don't think the mayor just declared for president, but I will say, I would much rather have you be the president than the one who's currently the president of the United States of America.
Thank you.
So,
very kind.
Let's be clear about
I think, as very kind comment, I think you would rather have anybody in this room for president.
That may be mostly correct. there is someone who really is very eager to ask a question in the... Yes, you. She was very eager, Mr. Mayor.
Eager is good.
Yes.
I'm Madeline, and I want kids' city bikes because all other grown-ups are allowed to use city bikes, and like they don't have kids' city bikes.
Wow. That was good. That was good. Your name's Madeline?
Yeah.
How old are you, Madeline?
8.
You're 8, and you came to the town hall meeting, and why are you so poised? Madeline, do you feel comfortable talking in front of hundreds of people? Where do you go to school, Madeline?
PS10, it's in Brooklyn.
Wow, PS10. Wait a minute, PS10 in my neighborhood? Oh, okay, good. PS10 on the move. Okay. Madeline, you are the first person who has ever suggested that idea to me, and it's a cool idea. I don't know how to do it, but it's a cool idea. So, Madeline, we're going to see if there's some way to do that. I don't know if there is, but we're going to see. It's a really interesting idea. We have to make sure if there are kids' city bikes that kids ride them safely. Do you wear a helmet when you ride a bike? Good. Madeline's on it. Okay, Madeline, thank you for your excellent idea. Let's give her a round of applause.
Another question.
Hold on. I think Madeline's getting some coaching.
One more.
Okay, Madeline.
Can I have a selfie with you?
Yes, Madeline. I think we have a height issue. Go. Madeline.
Yeah.
Madeline's going to have your job one day.
Yes. I don't know how many town halls you've had, but that is probably the cutest moment you have ever experienced at one of these town halls.
Pretty good.
And I love the children of the 26th District out here in force, right there in front.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Bob Madison from Jacob Avery's settlement, right here in LIC. It might be a two-part question.
Yeah, try one part.
Yeah, but the first part.
Everyone, we're keeping a good standard. People being cool.
Yeah, this is not.
Do your most important question.
It's not irrations. Yeah.
Most important
the most
question.
important one for the Queens West Sanitation Depot, which is located right in Ravenswood, because our agency works with our young people
Queens 1 garage
and our seniors, and that has been a blight inside that community for a number of years. So looking at that, and to sneak that second part in is looking at support for our senior centers, not only the one that Jacob Reese runs, but making sure.
I'm only doing the first one out of respect for the ground rules, with deepest respect for you. On the first question, and I want to tell you, not only has, I think a lot of members of the community obviously raised this very powerfully, councilman's raised it during the last snowstorm. We were out at Ravenswood, and the resident association leader raised it, so people have got it on our screen. We just introduced our executive budget yesterday. So I'm proud to tell you there is $130 million in that budget for a new sanitation garage to replace that facility. And the trucks that are now on the street in the area will be moved off by this fall.
So let me just recap. I see everybody's hands. I just want to say this is an issue of environmental justice that has plagued the Ravenswood community for decades and decades and decades. We have never had the movement. The mayor of the city of New York just told you he has put $130 million in the budget this week to move that Department of Sanitation facility, and promise that the trucks will be removed very, very soon. Let's thank Mayor de Blasio for that incredible, incredible moment for our community.
Oh, sorry. Hi, thank you for coming. I'm very concerned about the nonprofit human sector's fiscal crisis.
Yes.
And our contracts have been underfunded for years and years. By the way, I'm the executive director of Sunnyside Community Services. didn't mean to, that wasn't the reason I said that.
You're popular.
So our contracts have been underfunded for years and years. As I think you know, nearly 20% of the human services sector is insolvent. So I just want to ask you, how can you effectively address that?
So we started, as you know, with the cost of living increase, which had fallen on deaf ears in previous administrations, and other measures to try and increase support. We are in, I think, a very good negotiation right now with a lot of leaders of the nonprofit sector and folks in the Human Services Council and others, trying to resolve something that we think will be very helpful, but we also believe is affordable from a city budget perspective. Your fiscal crisis analogy is absolutely fair. I'm not for a moment going to belittle what nonprofits are going through. We need to give you solutions, but we also need to be real about what we can do and when we can do it. So that negotiation, that discussion is going on. I think it's been productive. Council's been very interested and concerned as well. We've got about 5 weeks or 6 weeks until the city budget gets finalized. So we want to resolve it in that time frame.
Thank you very much. A lot more questions, a lot more to say right there. Yep, right there, you. I'm not sure if everyone's going to come away with $130 million, but thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
No, they will not.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Osman Chaudhary. I'm the Sunnyside resident. If you see something, say something. Today I'm going to say something. Under Queensbridge Plaza, the south side, and Duskill Park, there is under construction long time ago. They finished the construction, but there is a big stone slab, they still is there. I want to see that one remove them and there put some garden. This is my demand. Thank you very much.
You're saying you would like to see improvements to the park?
No, it's not actually park. The under construction road before long time ago they finished, and then the construction have a big stone there, a stone slab to put on the side.
Okay, Jimmy, I'm not familiar with this one. Can you?
Yes, we will talk to Osman about the exact location. I'm not exactly familiar with, I'm certainly familiar with the park, but not the issue, so we can...
Okay, which department would it be from your...
The DOT.
D-O-B?
DOT.
Okay, so we'll wait, D-O-B as in boy or T as in Tom?
Department of Transportation.
Oh. T.
Yeah,
D-O-T, thank you. So Polly and your team will follow up afterwards, so Polly, just wave at him. There we go.
Thank you.
You'll find Polly Trottenberg afterwards.
Okay. This is all agency over here. In the back there? Yep.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brent O'Leary. I'm the president of the Hunters Point Civic Association. Hey. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming. My question is, as you know, this is a very family community with a lot of mom and pops. You know, you can start your own business, but the developers have found us. They found Long Island City with a vengeance. Now they're moving up into Sunnyside, into Woodside. They're raising rents. We lost our only movie theater, and then the person who bought it now listed it for sale for three times the price, and has left it empty. What can we do to help small businesses fight sort of greedy landlords who are trying to push them from their own neighborhoods? And just as a second part...
Wait,
only one part, Brent. Only one part.
I was trying to get it.
It's a nice try,
Good
though.
try, though. Good try.
So I'll start, and then I see Greg is here. He'll jump in. Okay. Look, again, I'm not saying this as a effort to belittle the challenge. I'm trying to say as a framing. If I had power over how each piece of land was used in New York City, it would be a very different city, and I wish I did, honestly. We're in a free enterprise system, and that comes with a whole lot of challenges, and I have my own critique of the excesses of the free enterprise system. Exactly the example you used. You have a community theater that's working for everyone. Once in a while, wouldn't it be nice to just leave it be? But no, the nature of capitalism, people will buy it and turn it into whatever's most profitable. There is not a great local government mechanism for stopping that. There really isn't. We have to be honest about it. There is when we rezone. When we rezone, we exercise in any particular area real power in the equation. When we don't, unless we sort of start from scratch and redo the whole city, there's a lot of places where developers has a right to do something within the existing zoning. Where we've tried to change the equation is by helping small businesses so they are less vulnerable. Reducing the fine levels, as I said, providing direct assistance, helping them with legal assistance, things that really do make a difference for mom and pops to be able to hang on. And the point we talked about earlier, to have Department of Buildings be more customer service oriented, et cetera. That helps a number of stores. It isn't a structural solution. Folks have asked me very legitimately, is there some big policy thing you could do to protect mom and pop stores? The one thing we could do would cost us a huge amount of money, would be some kind of tax credit system, but I'm talking about a huge amount of money, and compared to the other things we need, police, education, so many other things, it hasn't been something we could accommodate. So we're trying to figure out something more strategic. In the meantime, we're trying to just help each business that is in distress to see how we can help them get through. I don't have a way of stopping a developer from doing what they did in that situation, but I'd love to find one.
So in one of the ways that the mayor, in terms of helping businesses, so we've made investments in our legal services. So working with council last year, Councilmember Cornegie and the rest of the council passed the commercial tenant harassment bill, which is the first of its kind. So if you have a lease and the landlord is harassing you, we can actually help you with legal services at the Department of Small Business Services. We also have services to help, and the mayor is correct. Since the mayor came into office, we've reduced fines of up to 40, actually at 40% reduction in fines to small businesses. That's money back into your pockets. And certainly we have proactive services to actually help you avoid future fines. And finally, we actually have a new program called Love Your Local. So we are asking New Yorkers to identify the long-standing businesses that's in their community. We have a marketing campaign to help market those businesses, to drive traffic to those businesses. But in addition, that allows you to actually apply for a grant of up to $90,000 that we will award in the fall. So there's certainly, as the mayor said, it's not the silver bullet, but we are doing things to really help help mom and pops succeed.
One last point on this, and you as an organization leader and everyone in this room can help on this. I am very pained, I'm thinking about my neighborhood in Brooklyn, when a store that's been there a long time, I mean, I see this, I imagine people see this all the time in this community too. The store that was there a long time is priced out, and then the storefront ends up empty, like you talked about the movie theater, and nothing happens, and then eventually a Starbucks, bank branch, whatever. This is not good for New York City. But again, there's not an easy public policy solution. There is a people solution that matters, which is to scrupulously patronize the mom and pops and give them your business. Actually, I find a lot of people, I was at a restaurant called Angelica in the East Village. It's this famous vegetarian restaurant. And it had been there for 40 years. It was one of the first vegetarian restaurants in New York City. And they announced they were closing. And the place was jam-packed, and my wife and I went because we had gone there long ago. And the manager said, you know, right now we're jam-packed, but for years no one was coming. And that's why we're shutting down. I think people, if they really believe in their local small businesses, have some power in this equation, which is go patronize them as exclusively as possible, and that's one of the things that keeps them afloat.
Thank you very much, Brent. I think we gotta hear from some other residents. First of all, everyone knows that we have the Queensbridge houses in our district, the largest public housing development in the United States of America. Very proud to represent. I want to make sure we hear from our public housing leaders. So first, April Simpson-Taylor.
Thank you.
Microphone.
I got a big mouth. I don't know if I need that.
Take the microphone. Take the microphone.
Honorable Mayor de Blasio, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for coming. As I've spoken so many times with my council member, Jimmy Van Bramer, as well as Bishop Taylor, there's a little park behind Queensbridge houses called Baby Park. And all of us have done petitions, the seniors. I went to school there back in 1500. There was a park back there. There was a handball court. We are always talking about going green and making green spaces for our community instead of being the concrete jungle. But when we went back there, there are all different kind of city agencies back there. Not just NYCHA, DOT, parks. It's all kinds of city agency trucks, cars, vehicles. We don't know what to do. How can we get that park renovated back for the little goobers to go have a good place, safe place? We could even build a dog park back there so we don't have you know what on the sidewalks. So we need this in Queensbridge. And Queensbridge, we love Mayor de Blasio.
Thank you. You have a very dramatic presentation. I'm impressed. Very, very fabulous. Look, I just want to say thank you for your leadership. We've gotten a lot done together, all of us in Queensbridge. I want to credit the Queensbridge community for extraordinary work in terms of achieving a safer community. And we thank the NYPD, obviously. We thank the NYPD, but we also know the people of Queensbridge houses helped to achieve that historic, extraordinary, consistent improvement in safety, and all of the folks involved in the crisis management system, the Cure Violence movement. So many folks who made that happen. You know that we've focused on investments in terms of roofs, in terms of internet access. So it's the largest public housing development in the United States, and we've tried to treat Queensbridge with the respect it is due. We obviously are always going to look for opportunities to do more. Now, in terms of this property, parks, where's Dorothy? She goes by Dorothy. Dottie. Dottie. Okay, but you said it's Parks property, so Dottie what? Yeah.
It's actually a combination of, it's parkland used by a number of agencies, and as you're aware. Actually, the council member and I spoke about the site not long ago.
But who owns it, Dottie? I just want to clarify.
A good portion of it is parks, and some of it is actually DOT.
Okay,
So we
how
share
roughly big are we
jurisdiction.
talking about?
Runs from 21st Street down to Vernon Boulevard, and it's the stretch under the Ed Koch Bridge, Queensboro Bridge.
Okay, so what's the plan going forward?
So as you had said, there's a number of locations currently that use operational facilities back there. Parks has some facilities. We have our land reclamation. Sanitation has some facilities.
Wait.
We do
But where do you want to go
recycling and
with
such.
it? I believe
So
you.
where am I
they're all
going
good
with
things.
this? I think there's opportunity in some of those spaces to do improvement. I'd love to look at it with you. The handball court area, we recently worked with NYCHA to relocate some of the cars that they were parking in that area closer to 21st. We'd like to do something in that area as well. I don't have the funding yet, and I don't know if there'll be an announcement. Not tonight, another day.
We don't have one tonight, but we're always looking for new ones.
But we're looking at
So-
opportunities, and I agree with you. We can do more along those edges, and there's opportunity we should
So
work.
what I'm hearing, just so I get it right, is you're not crazy. The uses right now are not bad things, but not necessarily their intended purpose. And the mission is to get these other things to start moving out and get it back to the intended purpose, which is a good thing. But it will take money to bring it up to the kind of quality it deserves.
Yes,
which
little
we
bit of
don't have
money,
right
little
now.
bit of time, and then the coordination between keeping some of those agency functions there, but also providing for the greater public space. There's
Are you checking your watch to see if it's been 10 years? do you have a year watch? I'm impressed. All right, so you have fully, very effectively registered the concern. DOT and Parks will look at how they can start making the change. We're going to have a budget discussion that I think can't be for this one. It'll have to be for the next one.
That's right.
But let's start the wheels in motion. Thank you.
And ultimately reclaim that space for the folks at Queensbridge. So not as large a public housing development, but equally loved and equally as important, the Woodside houses. Miss Annie Cotton Morris.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Ann Cotton Morris. I'm the president of the Woodside Houses. I'm also the district chair of Queens, which covers Long Island City all the way to the Rockaways. So that's like 20 housing developments. We often see reports on TV about negative things happening in NYCHA, like the mole and the rats, like nobody else have it but us. But this is what you see on TV. And I want to know, how are you going to help us, our residents, and our housing staff, Shola, our chair, and all the, I'm sorry, I don't know everyone's name there, but you know who you are. But anyway, how are you going to help us make these NYCHA a place that's safe and clean that we could be proud of? One thing you did do is with the NCOs. Officers, thank you so much. We're really happy with the ones we have. I guess you know Carmen and Healy, he's in Woodside, we love them. Thank you for that.
All right, thank you. Well, first, Shola, come on over and join me in the answer. Look, I think your first point is a very excellent one. There is an unfair portrayal of the 400,000 New Yorkers who live in public housing, who are some of the backbone of the city. And look, a lot of our developments have been there a long time, but people work really hard who work for NYCHA and residents alike to make the best of them and to make them as good as they can be. Now, you said one thing we did do was the NCOs. We're very proud of NCOs, and I've heard this all over public housing, but I'm going to tell you we did more than one thing. Because one of the hardest working folks in government right here, she was handed an extraordinarily difficult mission of taking an agency that had not been invested in. Let's be real. You know, the first report Shola did for me on the future of the Housing Authority, she identified $18 billion in repairs and investments that she needed. $18 billion. But despite that, Shola and her team keep things moving forward. Now, another thing we did do is we stopped charging the Housing Authority for police services, which they used to be charged for. And we stopped charging them tax. If you can believe, the city of New York used to tax the Housing Authority for decades. We stopped doing that. And we gave the money to Shola and said, put that into repairs, put that into trying to improve quality of life and focusing on so many of the things, the health and safety issues. And a lot of that's happened. She'll describe it. But going forward, look, we just added in this budget $1.33 billion. It's the biggest city investment in the physical infrastructure of NYCHA in a single year that's ever been made. $1.33 billion to fix the roofs of over 700 buildings and to address the facades where there's real dangers and fix them up for people. Money is flowing. It's not enough, it's not fast enough, but it sure is flowing. Now I want, because it obviously affects all the developments represented here, Shola should take a moment so everyone can hear what your vision is for the next steps in improving the quality of life while, of course, dealing with the challenge from the federal government simultaneously.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Ann Cotton Morris, who's also chair of the Citywide Council of Presidents of all of our NYCHA leaders and the many other leaders that are here, Ms. April, Bishop Taylor, who I work very closely with around helping to ensure our communities are safe, clean, and connected. So there are a lot of things that we have done, but it has been done in lockstep with the mayor and with your councilmen. So at Queensbridge, you know, we invested $140 million of investment, roofs, new playgrounds, lights, new doors. The fact that there hasn't been a shooting in 1 year, over a year, was not by accident. It was a lot of concentrated work and focus. In terms of how do we ensure that NYCHA's here for another generation. We are loud and proud in Washington, and we are not going to accept the proposed budget cuts that this president has put forward for HUD, which would slash our entire agency and fundamentally threaten the homes of 1 in 14 New Yorkers. And so we have done a lot with the mayor and the councilman's support. We've taken repair times down from 15 days when we started down to 5 days today. We have $1.2 billion of work on the street. I know we have some sheds at Woodside, which will also be a part of, he doesn't even know this, the money that he put in the executive budget will help us deal with some of the facade issues at Woodside. So we're doing a lot of work that's really focused on how do we ensure these buildings are here for another generation, but we also need to change. We need to join the 21st century, so there's a lot that we've done around connecting residents to technology and jobs and opportunity, and that's something that these two leaders and our mayor are supporting us to do. So thank you for your continued work and support, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. All right. Standing there, yeah. What's that? I'll come back. We'll come back. We'll come back.
Oh, thank you.
What's that? No, I didn't. We'll come back. We'll come back. Ask your question.
Hi, my name is Clarissa, and I'm from the Woodside After School Goodwill Center. And I hope if you will be able to put more playgrounds in the Woodside playgrounds and stuff, or make it bigger, and also probably put the pool back in IS 10 Park, or not, but
Dottie.
also more parking over there too.
And parking.
Where's Dottie? Come on. Dottie, when you hear someone say parks, just start over here. Come on. So Clarissa, is that your name, Clarissa? There is a youth movement tonight at this town hall meeting. I'm impressed.
It's wonderful.
I am impressed. Okay, could you hear which park she was referring to?
I did. So-
Okay, what's our plans for that park?
Well, first, at the Junior High School 10 playground, that park is totally being reconstructed. And I know you might be disappointed that the mini pool has been removed. We're putting in a really cool interactive spray shower that can be used not only in the summertime, but when the water's not on, the kids can play in that area. It's being totally reconstructed. So I want to have you come out when we cut the ribbon next year. Okay, and at Woodside, what was your concern?
I think it was about more playgrounds around the Woodside houses, right? That was the question? Right. So not your area, but instead back to the chair.
But I'm going to get your name so we can get you at IS 10.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. I believe because of some of your resources, we actually have plans to replace, I don't know, I think we have 2 playgrounds at Woodside. So there's plans to replace at least one. And I'm pleased to say that we just partnered with Kaboom, which is a national play-space organization that actually involves young people to help redesign our playground. So in addition to the Queens Parks Commissioner, I hope you'll sit with us to help design the new playground as well.
Will you help them figure out what the new playground should look like?
Sure.
Thank you, Clarissa.
Thank you.
Sure. And I just want to also add, and I know all of the girls here represented from the Woodside Houses Community Center program know this, right? We completely renovated the basketball court, the big basketball court at the Woodside Houses, which is an incredibly important place in our community. So right there, yeah.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Betsy Ashton. I both live in Long Island City and I have an art studio, still have an art studio 5 blocks away in Long Island City. But and thank you very much for coming. It's wonderful to see democracy in action, unlike what we're seeing take hold in Washington. I'm here because I'm part of the Court Square Civic Association, and we are getting organized. We got some good people, but I'm a little concerned about the answer that you gave to our president Amadeo, and here's why. We are desperate for open space and park space, and I say this because I've watched from the ground up 8 skyscrapers go up, and on my commute there are 5 more going up, some of which haven't even broken ground yet, and you seem to say, well, if we get rezoned for affordable housing, well, then there will be, so it's a bargaining deal. Maybe we'll get some park space. We don't have any parks, we don't have any space left. Every lot that I have seen is gone. They are going up, and the last one is like 80 stories is going up. I mean, at some point, you have to stop. Can you stop these people? And can you give us some space?
let me ask Dottie come back and Marissa come over, because I'll talk about my sense how to go about things, but you guys have to speak to the specifics. Marissa Lago is the chair of the City Planning Commission, and obviously Dottie in terms of parks. Look, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not going to pretend to know the zoning for each and every area of the community. Can you stop something from happening? You can rezone up, down, you can do any number of things if the current situation doesn't work. My point about rezonings in general, didn't mean to, if I missed the full import of the question, I didn't mean to. My point about rezonings in general is when we look at a neighborhood, we say, what does the neighborhood need? We believe every neighborhood needs affordable housing. Literally, there is no such thing as a neighborhood in New York City that doesn't need affordable housing. A lot of neighborhoods, the number one priority is public space. Others, it is more school space, whatever, the neighborhood comes to the table as part of the democratic process, and that influences greatly what the final outcome is. In terms of your specific area, which has been so intensely developed, okay, I believe you. And I will only say, for the benefit of history and truth, those decisions predated us, but you're still left holding the bag. So what I'd like to hear from these two leaders is, what are the ways we might be able to go about, as close as possible, providing any additional public space options? So,
I'm glad to kick it off. You said something very important, which is that you are organized, and I think the important thing is to participate. Earlier in January, we had our first public engagement meeting in which we invited the community to come and help us envision what is it that we would want to see as part of a rezoning. Is it schools? Is it transportation? Is it parks? This is going to continue throughout the summer and the fall, and the single most important thing you can do is to be organized, to show up, to make your priorities heard. Because while city planning is the agency that does the rezoning, we do it in partnership with the city agencies that you see here. They come to the table as well. They come to these planning sessions. So please make your voice heard, not just here, but actively as we engage throughout the summer and fall in these visioning sessions.
Thank you. If I could just add, I do agree with that. And most recently at the Dutch Kills Green by the 59th Street Bridge, we worked very closely with EDC and DOT to redesign that whole area so that it's much more green than it had been before. Has the greenway that goes through there. You see people riding cycles all the time, and there's a public plaza on it. So I do think with city planning, we have an opportunity to look at some of these spaces and re-envision from what they are now and what they could be, at least the ones that are currently as parkland, and then see what the future opportunities are.
okay. So to bring it all together, and I was just consulting with the councilman to check my facts a little, I think that what we're saying is, there is a pathway. It does require a rezoning to achieve the overall changes. If the community says open space is a priority, then the job of city planning is to come back to you with real specific visions, real plots of land, real things that can happen in real time, and say, this is what we could do that would give open space to the community. Okay, and what I would say to that, I hear you loud and clear, but I want to be a little careful, because we need affordable housing. So I don't know what all the skyscrapers are. Again, I like to admit when I don't know the specifics. I don't know what each skyscraper is right now. I do know that what we try and maximize in any rezoning, we're there first and foremost because we want affordable housing. If there's not affordable housing, we don't have a lot of reason, just saying strategically, policy-wise, we don't have a lot of reason to rezone in general if there's not going to be affordable housing, because the city's #1 issue is affordable housing. But so what we try and do is say, okay, we got to get some affordable housing out of the equation. Again, open space. Many places they want new schools. How do we mix and match, get all those things, and it has to be financially viable at the same time. That's what we try and achieve, but it's a very public process wherein the council member gets to decide with the council in the end if they like it or not. If they don't like it, they don't have to vote for it. And it can't happen without a city council vote.
All right, I'm going to pop back there real quick, right there. Yep. We need a microphone back there.
Long time.
Pass the microphone.
Hi, my name is Candace. I live in a shelter at Metro Motel.
We have no housing specialists. I am a Section 8 recipient. I've been on my Section 8 for 2 years with a voucher, and I've been at the shelter for 2 years, and I'm stuck there. I am not getting the proper help that I need, and that's my issue today. I have my proof of my voucher. I have a 2-bedroom voucher for $16.93. These brokers, they ask for credit check. It's just... It's sickening.
You said Candace?
Candace, yes.
Candace, you're saying you don't have anyone who is helping you to navigate it.
No, I'm going on 2 years.
Okay. Well, this is the Commissioner for Social Services who has Department of Homeless Services under him, Steve Banks. Steve, how are we going to help Candace? And then you can speak to what we're trying to do in general, but how are we going to help Candace?
So very quickly, as to you, we're going to meet with you tonight, and we're going to figure out how to get you to be able to use that voucher so you can move out. It's a Section 8 voucher?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you.
So it's provided by the federal government.
Yes.
Which is great. We want to make use of it while we've got it.
Yes.
And we will work with you. And if you have encountered any landlords who wouldn't accept it, we're going to stand with you and address whatever those landlords are, because they're required to take a federal Section 8 voucher.
Okay.
I want to also follow up with you, and I have staff here with me, about exactly where you are, because it shouldn't be happening that you're not getting any housing help there. And we're going to follow up with that provider to address whatever the issues are.
All right, thank you so much.
Overall, I want to just add, though, that part of the new plan that the mayor has put out, it's a very important plan. It's going to change the way the shelter system is operated for the last 30, 40 years. And we're going to shrink the footprint of the shelter system, closing 360 places, including all the commercial hotels and the clusters, and replacing them with a smaller number of 90 shelters where we will be certain that people will get the kind of services that you want and that you deserve and that we want to be providing to you. And overall, the housing programs that the mayor's funded have enabled us to move out of shelter 55,000 people using vouchers and other housing aid, either move out or keep from going in. So we're going to work with you tonight, and I appreciate you raising the complaint about that shelter, because we will address it.
Now, I've been going section to section faithfully. The truth is, I did pass up this section. So we're going to take a question back there, right there. Yep.
Hello, I'm Jonah from Sunnyside Community Services. I'm surrounded by staff, seniors that we serve, and youth that we serve. And we're very excited about 21st century funding that's coming to this community. We have $1 million for 5 straight years and a plan to support PS 199, PS 343, and this school, in partnership with Ms. Berg, Principal Berg here, we're ready to invest in 390 students. However, the Trump administration has threatened to cut the entire program across the nation, and this would decimate our opportunity. How can we stand together to stand with students? We got to work on this together.
Thank you. Look, now forgive my ignorance on the funding stream. Does it come from U.S. Department of Education, or does it come from another agency? But do you know if it originates in the U.S. Department of Education? Okay, that's good. I'll tell you why. So, HUD, that's a little less good, but I'll still make my point. Look, you said a crucial thing, and this is, again, where I want to take a moment to just help people understand this moment of history, because a lot of what you see in the media, I think, is missing an important fact. The Trump administration proposed a budget. That decision gets made in October, formally voted in October. If you look at what's happened in the last weeks in this country, you certainly saw what happened at the grassroots on the health care, the attempt to repeal ACA. You've seen a lot of public outcry on a number of other fronts. If this is a kind of program that helps young people in all 50 states, it has a constituency in red states and purple states, not just blue states. And the real answer, and it's very old-fashioned, but it's true, is that we've got to activate all the people who care about the funding in all those states, because it does not take much in the scheme of things to change the budget process or the trajectory, because right now we're seeing so much opposition being generated And remember, the U.S. Senate is so close, you need a handful of Republican senators to feel that something shouldn't be cut, and that can have a very big impact. Obviously, the more members of the House, the better. In this delegation out of New York City, New York State, you probably have a lot of support already. But I think the most important thing is with your colleagues around the country, target, in the best sense of the word, target Republican members of the House and Senate and help them understand what impact this would have on their constituents, including in a lot of places that don't get a lot of federal funding and are going to be very jealous to protect it. So we're trying to do that with mayors all over the country, to identify a lot of things, including HUD funding, key elements of HUD funding, that not only do we want to save, but our colleagues in smaller cities and medium-sized cities and red states and purple states want to save, and that's how we put together the coalition to save them. And we'll be happy to work with you on that.
All right. That back row, you've been very energetic for a while. Why don't, the middle there, in the middle there, in the blue shirt. You? Yeah, that's you.
All right, good evening. My name is Ahmed. We are from our World Neighborhood Charter School in Astoria. Our 21st century after-school program has been eliminated due to federal budget cuts. We have 250 children and families who will be affected, and middle-class families who have no other options. We have reached out to local politicians, and we never had get answer back. What can you do to help our school that has been a standalone successful charter school for 16 years? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And it's obviously similar to the previous question, so I'm looking to both of you. The 21st century funding, to be clear, is for after school. Help me understand. After school. Okay. So I don't know if Bill Chong's here or who's here from DYCG. Okay, so Bill Chong is our, just stand up so people can see you, our commissioner for Department of Youth and Community Development. Bill, it runs all of the after-school programs that the city funds. So Bill, I think we should team up with the folks, the last two people have asked questions, and our Federal Affairs Office to see how we can help them in terms of defending the federal funding that they need. So you'll follow up with both, please. Thank you.
Great. Moving over here. Yep. Oh, I was actually looking at the pink behind you, but we'll continue to come back around.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I'm a resident of Sunnyside since 2008, and I have noticed that my real estate taxes have gone up considerably. I would say 70% from 2008 to now, and I've noticed, I heard that at some point that there was a drop in the real estate many years ago, and that the rate had increased. But now our taxes are based on the value of our lands, and so our taxes have gone up considerably. Now, it is my understanding that the taxes are somewhat capped in other parts of the state. So what can we do to help small homeowners here?
So,
because our incomes do not go up.
Yeah. So I'm a homeowner in Brooklyn. And I understand this reality and how important it is to people, but I want to be straightforward about what we have been doing, what we can do going forward, but also what I think we shouldn't do, and I'll lay it out quickly. So when I was in the city council, we actually were in very tough times in the city, and we had to pass a property tax rate increase. That's not good. That's not good for anyone. That's not fun. That hurts people's daily budget. I'm happy to say in the 4 budgets I've presented, there has not been a property tax rate increase. We are projecting years into the future in the way we're doing our financial planning, and we are not planning to have a property tax rate increase. And that's really important, and for folks who have experienced them, it hurts. We want to make sure that that does not happen. Second, we're trying to reduce the impact on the water bills of a number of things that were inflating the water bills. Water bills for years had a hidden tax in them, money that went to the city government for things that weren't water. We have ended that practice. In fact, we're trying to give every homeowner in New York City $183 credit back on their water bill, but we have been sued by the landlord lobby, by the organization representing the big landlords. They're trying to stop that from happening. We're fighting them in court. We believe we will ultimately win, and we'll be able to give people back that kind of rebate. But going forward, I believe what we need to do is have the City of New York propose an overhaul of the property tax system. This is a very difficult, challenging thing to put together, very sensitive. It's going to take a lot of work. If the people bring me back as mayor, I'm going to make that a high priority, and we'll come up with a proposal, and we're going to have to do some of the decisions here. Some have to be done in Albany, but I'd like to present a new vision of what a more balanced property tax system would be. I will tell you two things up front. One, any new property tax system still has to yield us essentially the same revenue, or we would immediately have to cut city services, and I don't think anyone in this room would like us to do that. Second, the reason I oppose property tax caps is that they, and it's been proven all over the state, they artificially force local governments to not expand police or education. That's exactly what ends up happening, or if times get tough economically, to cut back on police and education. Once a cap is in place, it's non-negotiable. And if the economy forces down your other revenues, you're stuck because of the cap. I don't think that's good for New York City. I would oppose that. We added 2,000 police officers. It's one of the smartest things we ever did was to add 2,000 police officers, but it costs money. So I think it's always a balance. My job is to give people a good quality of life and safety and good schools and a whole host of other things. Those all cost money. But what we can do, I really believe, in the next few years is create a property tax system that is more consistent, more transparent, that people feel is fairer, but I would never go to a cap. I have to be straightforward with you about that.
All right, back row, back row. No, I think it was the other one. No? You don't have a question, Herb? All right, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually behind you, yes. The gentleman behind you.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor, my name is Jeff Guyton. Thank you very much. I'm on the Community Education Council for District 30. I want to thank you for setting aside $200 million in funds to create 3 schools, one of them in Sunnyside Woodside, a school we fought to have. I want to shout out Lorraine Grillo, who's here and has been a champion of building schools along with Jimmy in this very overcrowded section of Queens. They're beautiful schools. This site for this middle school is selected by the SCA. It presents an imperative that we ask your commitment to help us resolve, because the site is within the planned community of Sunnyside Gardens in a building on the National Register that is structurally sound and designed by Clarence Stein. A perfect solution is to have the SCA restore the building's exterior and reuse it for a really special school that would be embraced by this community. Restoration will save time and money, cost about 1% of the total budget for the school, and be both green and historically responsible. Will you please help us make this happen?
Thank you for bringing that forward. I'll get Lorraine up here. I want to say as I respond that a lot of you may be aware, if you went back in time, let's say 15, 20 years in the city, unfortunately back then, the School Construction Authority was considered one of the worst bureaucracies. And a lot of money would go in and things wouldn't happen. When Lorraine Grillo took over, she sped the transformation of that agency. I am shocked today at how quickly schools are planned and built and how beautiful they are. We just, because to reward her for her hard work, we decided to give her more hard work. The whole 3K initiative I talked about, it's going to require building a lot of early childhood centers. We also announced, I didn't mention this before, but I announced in the budget that we're going to add air conditioning to every classroom in New York City that doesn't have it right now. Our students do not like to be sweaty, so we're going to have air conditioning over the next 5 years in every classroom. And again, that's because the SCA has now the ability to do things so consistently and on such a big scale. To this proposal, which I appreciate any time that we can do preservation while achieving other things we need, but I don't know the specific site. Lorraine, what can you tell us?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Jeffrey. As you know, we were given this site from the local community. The advocates said this would be a great site for a school. And so we explored it, we purchased the site. As part of our responsibility at the SCA, we have to go through the State Historic Preservation Office, and our plans for that school, it's not a design yet, but the plans to build a school there is currently up in Albany being reviewed by the State Historic Preservation Group. So we're waiting for their comments. When that happens, I made a commitment to the council member and to the community that we would sit down with the community and try to work together to design this building as best we possibly can. As the mayor always says, I'm not making promises, but I'm certainly going to try.
Thank you very much. And again, I just want to say, and Jeff, you know this, being on the CEC, we fought for this school for a really long time, needing a middle school desperately. And I really want to publicly thank Lorraine, who's been an amazing champion and a product of District 30 as well, as you know. So thank you to Lorraine Grillo and Mayor de Blasio for giving us this new school. And we will work together as a community to make sure it's the best possible. Back there in the last row.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor, I want to ask you about policing. We really appreciate all the police reforms that you've put into place, but a lot of people have grave concerns about broken windows policing, especially in this time of immigrant concerns and what that impact will be. I know that there are some reforms in terms of misdemeanors and so on, but we would really like to see the elimination of broken windows policing. I would hope you can talk about that.
I get this question a lot, and I give the same answer every time. And I think we are all, meaning people of goodwill, different viewpoints. I think we have a little bit of a language gap here we have to overcome. I'm going to call it quality of life policing to make a point. Quality of life policing means if someone calls the police and says, you know, there's somebody smoking marijuana in the lobby of my building, or whatever it is, and it's something that's against the law and something that they find disrupts the quality of their life, we want the police to address it. There's lots of ways to address it, but we want the police to address it, because what a lot of people maybe didn't know about the history of the city, or maybe didn't experience, is there were years and years in this city where people couldn't get police to address quality of life issues because there was so much more serious crime they had to deal with. And a lot of people were upset that there would be something that they thought was disrupting their quality of life and they could not get anything done about it. We believe if someone calls about something that's illegal, they should get a response, they should see a result. At the same time, our police are being trained entirely differently in terms of thinking about the range of options they have. And Chief, you can join me for some of this answer. I'll give you my perspective, but you can talk about how you put it into action every day. You can also leave all of your things in your hand back on your chair. See, as an Italian, I would never make that mistake because I can't talk if I don't have my hand gestures. But so we're training our officers to exercise maximum discretion. Both Commissioner Bratton and Commissioner O'Neill make this point constantly publicly. Arrest is not always the best option. In fact, the number of arrests has gone down markedly. Summons make sense in some cases. Warnings, just warnings, can make sense in other cases. So there's been a real movement away from arrest, but still with a devotion to addressing whatever the problem is. As you know, and you referred to, the City Council has also added the option of summons as a tool in many cases where it didn't exist before. So the whole nature of policing is changing. The words broken windows, it doesn't surprise me why they're kind of loaded terms. They're associated with a different time. That policy was first employed here in the Giuliani administration. I couldn't have disagreed more with almost everything that administration did. But the notion of addressing quality of life, I do believe in. I do think it helps in the overall effort to reduce crime. I do think there are times when the enforcement of a quality of life offense leads to finding someone who has done something unfortunately much worse or who has a weapon, for example. I think what people are saying, if I could interpret, and I think it's a sympathetic interpretation, is we want to know it's the lightest touch possible. We want to know that discretion is being used, and if, for example, a warning is sufficient, use a warning. We want to know it's being applied fairly and consistently across all neighborhoods of all demographics, which history would say was not always the case. People want to know that you'll be treated the exact same. One last point, when we made the decision, and it was a joint decision, City Council believed in it, NYPD believed in it, I believed in it, to no longer arrest for low-level marijuana possession. That, to me, also was part of the evolution of quote-unquote broken windows or quality of life policing, away from a more punitive approach to an approach that still allowed us to enforce the law, but without saddling so many young people with an arrest record. So it is continuing to evolve, but I still want to see that quality of life enforcement. I'd like the chief to talk about how our officers are being instructed and trained to make sure that they're applying the right tool for the right situation.
Okay, although I think the mayor did an excellent job in explaining to you, but fortunately, I happened to be when Commissioner Bratton first became police commissioner, I was assigned to the training unit back in 2014. And these were a lot of issues that we were looking at and that everyone was very concerned about. And it was called alternatives to arresting individuals. Marijuana was one. Also, discretion was a big component. So we had to go back to the drawing board, and doing so, we went back to the academy where officers are trained at. We implemented where now they have to have mandatory training several times a year, like we would do with the firearms. But one of the biggest things that was implemented into the police academy's curriculum is discretion. So naturally, that's the first thing we want you to do, is try and exercise some sort of discretion. We also, like the mayor said, we're looking towards civil enforcement instead of criminalizing public urination or in the park after dark, things of that nature. And everyone in the department is being trained to do so. We also have the NCO program, which a lot of people I know in here love. We only have the 114 precinct, and PSA 9 currently have NCOs. The borough's moving towards, I think, one more precinct's getting it in July. And naturally, like the mayor said, costs a lot of money because you need more officers assigned to the precinct in order to accomplish the program. But all those officers now at their level are going out, investigating complaints, see if they can mediate complaints, or just kind of fix it, move the person along if we can do so.
Thank you. Great.
Yep. Right there, second row, behind my mom. Nope. Yep. There we go. You.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. My name is Sheila Lewandowski. I'm founder, executive director of the Chocolate Factory Theater. And first, I have a present for you. We heart Queens values here, and we're giving you our Queens values heart. And that's part of a community art project that is a peace flag that we will be hanging up, made by a local artist.
I love it. Check that out. Beautiful. Queen's values. Very nice. All right.
And so...
Thank you.
You're welcome. So my question is related to the arts and culture sector citywide.
Yeah.
We have increased pressure to do more and more. And an example of that is universal pre-K. One of the requirements, the curriculum, is that all children have arts education, participation, and learning. And most of that is done by artists.
Yes.
And yet the artists, that is not the only way they make their living. They make their living as artists. They need live workspaces, and I know we talked a little bit about this before, but specific to the budget for DCA. You were the first mayor in a while who did not cut it. And so thank you for that. We want more. We need more if we're going to continue to serve a growing population, more and more students, more and more arts education, senior centers, mental health services. So we need more funding.
I appreciate it. And look, we are going to go through the next phase of the budget process with the City Council. The Council's priorities matter a lot. And so we're going to be listening carefully to what they, as a body, want to see us focus on this last piece. That being said, I never mince words about the choices that we have to make, and it's tough always. And I want to be real about, the things I tried to prioritize in this last budget early childhood education, a lot of things that were directed trying to address affordable housing, senior needs. There's a bunch of things we're trying to address. That being said, I think you make an important point. We have a lot of what we do, whether it's mental health, after school, early childhood education, that does provide opportunities for artists to get compensation for their skills in a way that's different from necessarily what their first line of focus is. We also increased arts education in schools $23 million a year over the last few years, each year. It is providing resources to artists a different way. You're right, we need more affordable housing for artists. We're doing some, it's not enough. We're trying to do more. You're right about the live workspace, we're doing some. But I actually would flip it a little bit and say, all those other things we're doing where artists get paid to be in our public schools or in our after-school centers and all, that helps them to make ends meet as well. We're going to keep doing that for sure.
Thank you. And in the back row there, going to Dutch Kills.
Hello, I'm Noni Pratt from Dutch Kills, and Honorable Santa Claus of the sanctuary city. Thank you.
Thank you. I've never been called such a sweet thing.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you both of you. It's a wonderful, wonderful meeting, and I'm really hoping that you can both just use your magic wand and help the neighborhood of Dutch Kills. There are a number of things, and I'm only going to ask one for now, but it's a neighborhood that's been really not treating well in many ways, as Jimmy knows very well, and has really tried to be a champion to help us. But I was thinking, given your interest in Vision Zero, there is in particular one corner, but there are a number of corners, but there's one corner that we have screamed about. I've asked, Jimmy's worked on it, but there's some, it's not Jimmy's problem because he's really been on it, but I've even begged for things to be done to keep me from getting arrested because I'm going to paint crosswalks, I'm going to steal stop signs.
Where is it? Tell us.
It's on the corner of 29th Street and 39th Avenues. Someone is going to die soon there if nothing gets done. I'm serious.
Okay. So.
And I've spoken with Polly when she first came in, and it was her first month, and this isn't any blame, but there's some big gap in supporting Jimmy to do what he's been trying to do for a long time.
Okay, so just let me make sure I'm getting it straight. 29th, say it again?
29th Street, and I'm very grateful for all that you're doing.
No, thank you.
29th Street and 39th Avenues.
And the thing you would like to see is?
A stop sign or crosswalks or, I mean, curbing. I don't really care.
Can you have your borough people go and meet with her and see it?
It's really important.
We'll catch you after my staff is here.
Because cars have gone through the bodega 2 times since I've lived there. It's really, these guys are in the same neighborhood. It's dangerous.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to have, is the borough commissioner here?
Deputy Borough Commissioner.
Deputy, okay. We'll have the borough commissioner come to you to see the site again, and then let's see what we specifically can do. Are you familiar? You don't have a specific thing now?
No.
Okay, we're going to have him come to you.
I've heard of a few things in Dutch Kill, so let's make sure we
there
connect.
are a couple, but this is most serious.
We'll come to you. Thank you.
Noni did a great job. Quite frankly, the Queen's office is very well aware of that site, and we need action right away on that site, right there. Yep. No. Oh, I'm sorry. I got the person behind you. We'll come back. We'll keep going. Is that working? I don't know if that's working.
Hi, my name is Jeff Vogel from Sunnyside. I'd just have I feel we're sleepwalking into climate disaster. So I have a couple of suggestions. But first, I want to say that our greatest enemy is greed, and I think that you should suggest to Mr. Trump that he build his wall around Wall Street. I think that would be a much
make Wall Street pay for it.
And make Wall Street pay. Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
So just two suggestions to reduce our greenhouse gas contribution. One, to eliminate alternate side of the street parking, because there's an immense amount of fuel burned in that exercise every day. So I think that's something you should consider, and it might help your re-election campaign too. and The second suggestion, the Sunnyside Yards should live up to its name and be turned into a massive solar panel installation. That is what we need desperately. We have to awaken ourselves from this slumber.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Let me say you're right about the slumber in terms of government. I would argue the people are way ahead of their governments on this issue. I think the people in general are waking up to the climate change crisis and are actually willing to start changing their lifestyles some and to push leaders to make the big changes we need. But governments have lagged behind. This city, I'm very proud, we have adopted the gold standard, 80% reduction in emissions by 2050. We're retrofitting all our public buildings. We're going to an all-electric car fleet for the city government. We're going to do a lot of things that will address it directly. I think on Sunnyside or any place else, my friendly amendment is I think we should do housing with solar on top of it. And then on the question, I'm sorry, the first part you said was, remind me, alternate side. Yeah, I want to amend your statement. If I had a policy to end alternate side policy, you said to end alternate side parking, you said it might help my reelection. It would guarantee reelection, but I cannot, in good conscience, say that right now. The challenge is, even though I think you're right, when people are circling and idling, it's really bad. The problem is, if you didn't have alternate side, you'd have increasingly dirty streets. And I mean, I'm just giving you a response. We don't know. We're not doing debate club. You could look. Sanitation commissioner. Hold on. Stand up, Catherine. Okay, just stand. You don't even have to come over here. Just stand there. That's our sanitation commissioner. You're going to see her after, and make the case to her, and she will listen. But I hear the impulse, and I'm going to credit it on one level. I think if global warming continues at this pace, we're going to have to do a lot of things differently than what we've done in the past. We're going to have to change our personal habits. We're going to have to change the way we govern ourselves, the way we spend money, all sorts of things. So your idea is not, to me, entirely wrong, but I'd be really worried about a dirty city. So I want you to have that debate with Catherine Garcia, and then we'll see what comes of it.
Jeff Vogel will do that. You've been smiling for hours. You, right there, yes. Yes.
Hi, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. My name is Lakshman Kalasapudi. I'm from India Home. We provide senior services for South Asians in Queens. And so with the DFTA, Department for the Aging budget, less than half of 1% of the entire city's budget, and there's been no increase from last fiscal year to this preliminary budget, and then from the preliminary budget to the executive budget. Why is there no new investment in senior services? And in particular, we work with immigrant older adults who have language access issues, who have unfamiliarity with transportation and healthcare systems in this country. And we serve a really vulnerable community, and we're asking DFTA to help us target those vulnerable immigrant older adults, 1 in 10 New Yorkers. And they're not getting a budget increase. So
Okay, well,
thank you.
let me break it into pieces here. Is Donna here? Donna Corrado here, or not here?
Yep.
There she is. Come forward. Donna, come on. Everyone's hanging back, commissioners. When you hear your agency, start over. So let me say my thing, and I'm going to pass to Donna. Look, there's a lot we do for seniors that is not just through DFTA. Donna will talk about the things that she is doing. And the budget is not done yet. This is a major priority for the City Council. There's still a lot to work through. We have expanded services through our senior centers previously, and we're open to that discussion with the council. But I do want to say we're putting more and more focus on senior affordable housing, which is the #1 expense for seniors. I talked about the mansion tax, which we want to win in Albany to get 25,000 seniors affordable housing. You saw perhaps the tax credit that we have proposed working with our colleagues in Albany to help seniors who own homes but don't have any money, are home rich and cash poor, to get a tax break on their property tax. We obviously increased the amount of units for seniors in our affordable housing plan. We added 5,000 more apartments into that, or shifted 5,000 units in that plan. That's where our central strategic focus is right now, is on affordable housing for seniors. And then second, on mental health, You know, my wife started the Thrive Initiative, and it's a very well-funded initiative, and a big chunk, a meaningful chunk of it is focused on seniors and mental health, an area that was not invested in previously. But Donna, talk about what you are doing at DFTA and particularly how it has changed compared to a few years ago.
So within this administration, thanks to the mayor, he's invested over $40 million in core services for seniors, including senior centers, case management, home delivered meals, and we continue to assess that, and we continue to meet the needs, and naturally there's a growing demographic that we need to address that. But I want to commend you, especially India Home, for serving an underserved population and New Yorkers in a way that is very creative, and using our existing senior center network to do that. So the 4 centers that you've established, senior centers, we look forward to continue working with you to make them full-fledged senior centers in the future. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Donna.
Great. This is kind of another section right there. Yep. The glasses.
Hi, I'm Zoe Morset, and I'm a longtime resident of Long Island City. I work in the film, Broadway, and television industry. I'm one of those many small studio businesses that support that industry. And I think you all know that those industries are bringing a tremendous amount of revenue into New York City.
Yes.
And we love the fact that there are tax breaks, et cetera, to keep them here. The problem now is I've lived in the Court Square area for 34 years, and the reason I moved there is because it was affordable, and my studio's over there. But my commercial rent went up 58% last summer. I'm a senior citizen, and I have to work until I drop dead, basically. But I cannot afford those kind of rent increases. And I know there's no cap on commercial rents in New York. Right. Is there anything that can be done by the city to address that?
I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's really tough. And again, I don't think we've found a great way to intervene into the free market system on this. I just don't think we have. We haven't found a great legal construct that would allow us to do so. The best thing we can do is try and incentivize the creation of the space where we have a hand in the development process, where we get to lay down the rules, which is typically through a rezoning. So it's not the answer you want, it's not the answer I'd like to give, but we can't regulate. At this moment, we don't have a regulatory tool to say to a commercial landlord, you can't charge more than X. We do not have that tool. We have to try and go around the market and create capacity in other ways.
So you're ready to go to the
lightning round? Okay, everyone, it's time for the lightning round. It is 20 minutes till 10. So here's what happens at 20 minutes till 10, because this meeting is going to be 3 hours old soon. We're going to go around. Jimmy's going to call on people. It's very quick. No preliminaries. Don't introduce yourself. Just one-sentence question. I'll give you a one-sentence answer if I can. If I don't have a ready available answer, I will tell you which of our panel of experts will give you an answer, but we're going to go very fast. Go.
All right, we're going to go very fast, starting with this section. Everyone is standing up in that
one
section.
Sentence. Everyone gets one sentence.
Yeah, my name is Walter. I live up down the block.
One sentence.
Yeah. Hotels in this area. There's a glut of empty hotel space in this area. The city is...
Okay, just a question,
warehousing homeless people in these hotels.
Got an answer for you.
Are you paying market rate or above market rate in these hotels?
We are paying, we are working increasingly, and we're achieving increasingly below market rate, larger deals with the hotels. And the plan over the next 7 years is to get out of all hotels in New York City. This is one of the areas that is most going to benefit from that plan. We don't want to be in hotels. It'll take us 7 years to get out one by one, but we don't want to be in hotels. Next.
Right there.
City, that's great, but what are we really doing to help our undocumented people against this administration?
We are providing every conceivable service of any government, meaning we are one of the most generous and comprehensive governments anywhere in the United States in terms of everything we provide to people, all of which is available to folks regardless of documentation status. We don't ask documentation status. And we just added $16 million into the budget starting in July for expanded legal services for those who are threatened with deportation. So even those who are not detained can get legal services.
Right there.
Good evening, everyone. I'm from Queens.
Ask question.
You said that money is allotted so they will fix the apartment and stuff in the building. All I want to know is that if you all have anything in place when the contractors get a job to help some of the residents who would like to get some work when they get the job.
I'm going to give you my fast answer, and Shola can follow up. You're talking about which development?
Queensbridge.
Queensbridge. Yes, but we need to do more. The focus of what we've been doing is when we create activity, when we put a lot of money in, and I mentioned before for NYCHA, they're getting $1.33 billion. You're welcome, but is to create maximum employment opportunities for residents. Historically, that has not been done particularly well. Shola is very committed to fixing that. She will follow up with you after.
All right, right there.
Yo hablo español.
Sí.
Buenas noches a todos.
Rápidamente.
Good evening. Mi pregunta, mi pregunta es lo que pasa que en la esquina de Williamsburg,
on the corner of Williamsburg,
ahí van muchas mujeres trabajadoras como yo.
a lot of female workers like myself are there.
En esa esquina
On that corner,
Más rápida.
no hay lugar, digamos, para ir a un baño.
there aren't enough bathrooms, public bathrooms for ladies to go to.
Momentito, do you know the situation?
En Marcy y División.
¿Dónde exactamente?
Marcy y División en Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have, who's here from Moya? Immigrant Affairs, you'll follow up. That's not for, we don't have an answer for this town hall meeting because obviously we're in a different community. But Sonia, yes? Sonia will follow up with you right now.
Okay.
Great. Last row, last row, last row, last row. Yep, last row, last row.
Herbert Reynolds, Sunnyside Gardens Preservation Alliance. I must respectfully challenge Lorraine Grillo's characterization of her agency's cooperation with the State Historic Preservation Office. We are in touch with
This is lightning round. You're challenging it.
Why are you not working to preserve a building that won the Best Building in Queens Award?
Lorraine, you are attempting to do that, right? We'll do a follow-up discussion, but you're saying the policy of this city is to try and get it done, correct? That's the answer.
Right there.
Joby Jacob, I have a question about the BQX. I think it would be a great idea. Our transit is overburdened.
Question?
Where's it going to go?
Okay, that's a good question. A damn good question. Okay, you know the broad route idea. We've said that we're in a study process right now of actually figuring out what specific streets would make sense the whole route and what it would take infrastructure-wise to address that. We are, James, you can help me on this one, we are months away from having an analysis that we're ready to go out with. But anything else I should say immediately? Okay, so answer is we're trying to determine the specific route. When we have a specific proposal, we will then begin a very public process of having people evaluate the specific streets.
Great, right there.
Becky Ollinger, it's 2 intersections in the Court Square and Queens Plaza. I won't tell you them. I have them written down here. I work for the Department of Health. I walk to work every day.
Cool.
And for the past 6 years, I've been advocating for something to happen.
You mean for traffic safety?
Oh, yeah, it's really bad. I'm surprised.
Polly and her
got 'em
team
right
will
here.
follow up. Good.
Right there.
My name is Jerry Bamberger, and my question is, can we reward our 108th precinct, who keeps our area one of the safest in New York City, with an updated, more modern place to work? Shout out to Captain Forgione and Chief Holmes.
Not today. It's we do want to reward always the incredible work. We are constantly trying to improve the precinct headquarters with whatever we can. We don't have a plan for a new one, but one of the things the NYPD has been doing is figuring out specific improvements we can make and cleanups and one thing or another we can do in the precincts. Even if we can't give a new precinct, we can do a lot to improve the current one, and we'll work with the precinct commander to determine what he needs.
Captain Forgione may have planted that one.
All right.
Right there.
Hi. I would just like to say in Dutch Kills, we also have a serious issue of cars parking on the sidewalks. I cannot walk my daughter to PS.
Parking on the sidewalk.
Parking on the
Which
sidewalk.
precinct is Dutch Kills? Okay, just real quick, you're going to join us. This is lightning round. So you're having Dutch Kills, cars parking on sidewalks, lightning round answer.
Yes, and we work very closely together. So, you know, we're constantly out there trying to do the tow operations, trying to get these cars off the sidewalk. I think we've come a long way, and it's something we're going to continue to go forward with.
So you will continue towing the cars from the sidewalks?
Yes, we're ticketing and towing those cars.
Ticketing and towing.
All right.
Okay, that's... Okay, but this is the police. So ticketing and towing.
Right there.
Follow up. You're going to follow up personally with her after. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Smith, John D. Smith.
Mr. Smith, how are you, sir?
Fine, thank you, sir. I have a question. What about the traffic in Long Island City, Queensbridge area? Traffic is very bad there, and we need something done.
Polly, good question. Do you have a top-line answer on what can be done in that very congested area?
I mean, look, we can take a look at particular hotspots. We can work with PD. Sometimes there's things we can do with signals and traffic flows. Sometimes it's enforcement. Sometimes it's talking to the MTA.
You mean trucks that go off truck routes? Okay,
Well,
so
truck
that's
is
the
something we need
precinct
PD for.
right around, you said right around, where exactly?
Queensbridge houses.
Queensbridge houses, which precinct? Who's got it? Which precinct?
114.
Okay.
PSA 9.
Trucks off truck routes illegally on streets of the community around Queensbridge.
Right. The traffic unit is always tasked with that stuff, constantly trying to enforce those laws with the trucks off the truck route.
Have you done some concentrated enforcement on
Yeah,
certain
21st
days?
Street's a thoroughfare over there. We continuously monitor that.
Okay, will you follow up after? So
Without a doubt, I'll talk to you right after.
The precinct commander will follow up with you, but also I want to say from my old city council days, sometimes a little concentrated burst of enforcement over a few weeks changes habits of people who drive trucks. So I think that's worth a look.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, John D. Smith is a decorated World War II veteran.
Oh, he is. I know.
Amazing man.
Congratulations. We thank you, sir. We thank you. We thank you very much. He's very good. He likes to shout that out. He likes to shout that out.
It's deserving. Last row, back row, right there. Yep.
It's coming to you.
Yes, we need a one ride to the airports. All the way from Manhattan through this very burdened area. We're a real bottleneck here for traffic over through the Midtown Tunnel and the Queensboro Bridge. So that's where I would put the transit money.
I respect that that is a good goal. I wouldn't say it is the first priority. I'm being real with you. I don't think it's the first priority in terms of mass transit for the city. I think it's a good goal, and I believe the MTA is and the state are focused on trying to achieve that.
Great. I thought there was a question way back there over here.
Fast, lightning round, keep going. If you can't find a question, find another one.
Right there, right there.
Come on, you can't have that gap.
They were talking, yeah, no.
Yeah, then move to the next people.
You lost it.
Too slow, they blow. You move to the next person.
Seriously.
I would like to invite Councilman Van Bramer to our next PTO meeting at our
Faster.
World Neighborhood Charter School.
Yes.
Okay,
Little
that's
time.
all you want?
That's all I
Okay, that
want.
was easy. Okay.
Over here, over here.
Keep going.
Right there, yeah.
Keep going. Government is fast.
Okay, thank you. I'll be quick. My son's birthday's at the end of November. He has speech delays. He has an IEP with CPSE. Why, as a parent, can I not redshirt him for kindergarten?
Okay, excellent question. We're going to have a personal session with the Deputy Chancellor of Education right after Dorita Gibson's going to see you.
Right, bang, right there. What's that? Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, but we have a quick question.
Mi pregunta es que necesitamos más permisos. ¿Cómo puede usted ayudarnos?
We need
Somos
more
vendedores ambulantes.
permits.
Y saber
Señora,
que
señora,
nuestra
¿qué-
propuesta
diga otra vez su pregunta.
Mi pregunta es que necesitamos más permisos. ¿Cómo puede usted ayudarnos?
¿Permisos para qué?
para vendedores ambulantes. Yo vendo comida.
Oh, okay. So she's like a food seller,
street vendor.
Yeah.
We
So no
are
permits for
having
that.
a process with the city council right now to try and
Estamos en función de eso. ¿verdad?
rationalize the system for giving out street
Para
vendor
tratar de
permits.
dar más
And the
permisos
council
a
is
los,
interested in more permits. We're trying to figure out
los
a new
miembros que
system.
venden.
Great. Back there in the blue. Yep.
Thank you, Major. As you might be aware, 1,800 union members from Local 3 are on strike.
Yes.
You know the Spectrum is hiring.
Yes. Yeah, I can tell you right away.
Out of state.
I can just answer
and I want to
your
know
question.
how you could help us out.
I've already said to your union leadership, and I've said publicly, that I want to make sure working people are treated properly by Charter Spectrum. I am concerned that situation has gotten so bad that people have to go on strike. And I've made clear that if we can either help resolve the matter, I want to do that, or if we have to aggressively come out publicly and help the workers, I will do that. So I want to make sure Charter Spectrum understands this must be resolved.
Great.
Thank
Right
you.
there.
Two hands, I like that.
Hi, could you please work to convene city, state, and federal agencies on the Newtown Creek to address the lawlessness there? It's making it harder for the community to be part of the environmental reawakening there.
The lawlessness, can you help me with this? The lawlessness?
Yes, it is an issue that we worked on with Eric, and we're aware of it, and PD is aware of it, and I think we need more enforcement, and we agree 100%, Eric. You know we're on top of this, and we will definitely...
But is there anything the city needs to add to that equation specifically?
Well, yeah, it's
very simple, fast.
Sure, yeah, it's small business services, which has already issued vacate orders on some of the squatting silos there, and also we have to coordinate.
Okay, I'm going to do it just in the interest of speed. So we will work with the councilman's office. If other city agencies need to get involved, we'll do that.
Two hands gets a question.
Two hands gets a question. Just this once.
Okay, from Queensbridge Housing.
Hit me fast.
I want to talk about the speed bumps. We need speed bumps in our community.
Okay.
Around Queensbridge.
Yes, around.
What do we think about speed bumps around Queensbridge?
It depends on the roadways. As you know, we have some requirements that we have to look at about whether the roadway is taking buses or trucks, how many lanes it is, but happy to sit down with you, talk about the locations, see if they meet the criteria. And if they don't, there may be other things we can do. Again, it sort of depends on some of the, we can't do it if they're trucks or buses. Speed humps can only work in some places, but let us come take a look.
Okay, the commissioner will make sure folks follow up directly. Thank you.
I see the two hands, but back to the youth, right there.
As being one of the most diverse cities in the world, how are you helping transgendered kids, letting them use the bathroom of their genders and not of their sex?
We've made very clear the policy of New York City Public Schools and our Human Rights Commission, which legally enforces anti-discrimination laws all over the city, is that people choose their own gender identity in terms of which bathroom they use. That's the law of New York City.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Right there. Yep, you.
WNYC Public Radio published recently that over 100 schools in Queens have toxic levels of lead in school drinking fountains. And some of those lead levels are so high that a single drink can cause permanent brain damage. And so you have Vision Zero for traffic, and I want to know what your Vision Zero for lead is, and not just for schools, but parks and playgrounds. And what are you doing to give us the data, the transparency and accountability?
We want absolutely there to be the transparency and the accountability. We have no fear of this information being absolutely transparent, but any comparison to Flint, and I'm not saying it's about you personally, the media has made the comparison, it is an irresponsible and unfair comparison that's just creating alarm where it shouldn't exist. Dr. Mary Bassett, Health Commissioner in New York City, the best public health agency in America, has been at this work for decades. She will tell you what's happening with the water in our public schools. Fast forward.
The Department of Education is doing testing of all of the water in schools. Every time an elevation is found, that outlet is taken out of service. The health department's been advising them on this. We support their plan. There has never been a single child in New York City, or anyone, adult or child, who's had elevated blood levels associated with lead and water. I'm happy to explain why what the mayor said is absolutely correct. This is not a situation like Flint.
Okay. Same point. We are absolutely, we want the facts out. We don't, hold on, we want the facts out. We don't have any evidence of anything happening to children or people like happened in Flint. But any data we have, we should make public, and we can have parks and everyone. So she'll follow up. Dr.
We're going to move on. We have 3 minutes. We're closing down at 10 o'clock on the dot, so be very quick. Right there.
Fast.
My name is Kathleen with Astoria Park
Question.
and Aquatics Preservation. We want to know
Don't hurt her with the microphone
if
there.
Mayor LaGuardia and Robert Moses could open up 11 pools during the Great Depression, why can't you help us save the diving pool and reopen the public school 10 pool? People don't want, we have plenty of sprinklers. We need to swim and to dive.
Okay, I don't have an answer on the
We'd like to
diving
meet
pool.
with you. Can we meet with you? We met with Commissioner Lewandowski. She was very gracious.
Commissioner, what's the quick, we have fast lightning round answer?
But she already told us that it was
let me hear her answer.
The quick answer, though, is that the plans for both Astoria Heights Playground and Astoria Pool have been vetted and approved by both the community boards, the elected officials,
So what's
and the
gonna happen?
landmark design. The pool is moving forward. We are covering over this decking the diving pool, as you're aware, but it'll be a usable space year-round, not only for persons in the pool, but others. So it's actually a good thing, and it's been supported by the community board.
Okay, so I heard you. That's the answer
We'll
for now.
talk more.
Keep going.
Right there.
Okay, fast.
Would you support legislation that would force developers to deal with their violations before issuing permits or certificates
That
of
would
occupancy?
force who?
Developers
Yes.
to deal with their violations and pay for them to the city before issuing them permits or C of Os.
That is very interesting. I've never heard that one before. Yeah. I don't know what the answer to that one is, but we owe you an answer. That's a very interesting proposal. I'm looking at James. Well, you should talk to her, but have we, I'm looking at James, looking at Rick, have we evaluated such a concept before? Okay, and you want to speak to it, Mr. Know-it-all? Okay, Rick's got it.
I think it had stopped development as we know it. I think our
So
work
the
would stop
question
in
is,
New York City.
are we
have to
evaluating the
reevaluate how
notion, though? Are we evaluating the notion of what we could use the leverage of that process to get things cleaned up?
We don't have a specific plan on that.
Okay, I think it's an interesting idea. I'm not going to say yes on, very straightforward. I'm not going to say yes on the legislation. I think as a strategy, it's a very interesting strategy. This is the kind of thing we should be looking at. So, Rick, James, you guys are going to look at this together because it has to do with development and buildings and certificate of occupancy. And if you will follow up with these guys right after the meeting. And is someone carrying that legislation right now, to the best of your knowledge? Do you know who it is? Okay, and John Paul Lupo, in the sound of my voice, find out what this piece of legislation is, and let's look at it. Again, we may not be able to do it in that form, but we may be able to do something that would get at the same point. Thank you for raising it.
All right, Mr. Mayor, this may be the last question right here.
Okay. What do we got?
Right? One. Right there. Yes, you.
There.
Can you commit to a Vision Zero redesign of 43rd Avenue and Skillman Avenue before someone else gets killed in Sunnyside?
43rd Avenue and Skillman Avenue. Redesign Vision Zero.
I mean, we are going to take a look at it, obviously, and see what we can do to put some design in elements. So we're going to be working on that this summer, so we can catch up and talk to you about that.
One more. You can still go. Oh, we just went tense here. One more. Literally one more.
Last question. Right there.
Speaking off of that, how are we going to keep bicyclists from getting killed in Queens and the rest of New York?
That's what Vision Zero is all about. I mean, that's a fair and broad question, but that's the whole concept of Vision Zero is that we've been putting in bike lanes, including protected bike lanes all over the city, and been doing a huge amount more enforcement on speeding. You know, we've doubled and tripled the number of summonses on speeding and failure to yield. Finish.
I mean, look, we're putting in a lot of bike lanes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, we put a bike lane in on Queens Boulevard. We have not seen a fatality on that roadway now in 2.5 years. We're going to continue to build that bike network out in Queens. We certainly can use support of some of the folks in this room. And, you know, we're going to be also rolling out, stay tuned, some new safety ideas that we're going to have on bike intersections. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor is still here. Let me just say a few words. First of all, let us say thank you to Mayor de Blasio for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And for taking your questions. I want to thank Mayor de Blasio so much for being here in our community and delivering. And I know his agency commissioners will be here for a little bit longer.
They will be here all night.
To answer questions.
They'll be here all night.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio.
Thank you, everyone.